between, one for afterwards.
Jeez, it sounds like I gotta go to the bathroom during those times. Anyway, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Smudcast number 798, Illiterate. Media literacy. I don't know what the devil this title implies, but from the thumbnail, I think we're going to have a good time, or at least we're going to have a good time taking apart some of these people on the thumbnail. And that's a bunch of people we always have disagreed with. Anthony, I think, is the newest iteration of that. And he's all these people are work of something we don't know what, maybe of their time, maybe of their ideology, maybe of their influence from other people. We don't know exactly why they think the way they do. But hopefully this fellow by the name of Mediocrity 4 is going to tell us what the problem is here. So I can't wait. And this came out 8 days ago, has almost 3,000 views. I see Legacy is commenting on this in the comment section. Boy. So you know that someone got influence on that voting section of this podcast. So thank you, Legacy. And it's about 22 minutes long, so it will take some time. And I'll probably have a lot to say because God knows we've said a lot already about these people. So we'll try to go as fast as possible.
About the topic of media literacy in general, these fucking hacks, a lot of them.
Yeah, I remember leaving a comment in Anthony's comment about the non-word or the non-phrase media literacy, saying it was an invented word. And then the reply from one of his fans was, all words are invented, smiley face. Like, yeah, okay.
That's Crimea River.
That's who I'm talking
to.
But
the majority of words are actually useful.
Based off reality, yeah. That's the...
Yeah. Even if there was a term that by the name of media literacy, it wouldn't mean what they use it for. Because what they use it for is solely a placeholder for political correctness. Is the media politically correct? And do you agree with the politically correct media? And if you don't, you are media illiterate. Because you're politically incorrect. And the media is politically incorrect if it doesn't hold the ideology. So that's all that is.
Yeah, welcome to was it Bill C-16? I can't remember the name of the bill in Canada, but it was pretty much you disagree with the state, therefore we can erase you, or you can post.
We'll get that in effect in August.
Oh, in Germany, really?
Yes.
Okay, well, let's not get into politics. That's probably going to happen anyway in this video. So anyway, 22 minutes. Here we go, gentlemen.
2024 has been a horrible year for people who care about media literacy.
Huh?
It's gotten so bad that even talking about it is grounds for mockery. So I posed the question, why is this happening now and how did we get here? Long story short, the people accusing others of being media illiterate are projecting their own lack of literacy. Media literacy is just visual comprehension. It's being able to notice and comprehend the language of film. That
is it?
Oh, you wish. That is so here we have this word is a wonderful example of the double meaning, the double speak that the left uses. And that is, you use the naive, innocent, probably objectively correct interpretation, definition of this term that you would, through common sense, come to. That's all right. That's how it should be. But that's not what this term was invented for. So this is not a redefined word. This is a word made up with already a hidden definition. And the hidden definition I already explained before. So, yeah, I understand this guy's problem. He doesn't know yet that it's always double meanings. The thing that you're supposed to hear and think that the words are supposed to mean,
yeah,
and what they really mean.
It's like,
and this is how the left always lies to you.
It's like government inventing a problem, saying, "I have the solution. You don't know this media literacy program I've just invented that will solve the problem of you not understanding what I'm trying to tell." Mm-hmm. Or something like that. Anyway.
Sit. Visual equivalent of listening and reading comprehension. And therein lies our first clue that the media...
No, why would it? Wouldn't that just be a visual comprehension then?
It's
because media would, and if you say media comprehension, which would probably be the better term, would then just encompass all of these different types of comprehension.
Yeah, because media comes in many forms. It comes in, so books are media. Anything you see on TV is media. Anything you listen to on radio, that's media.
Yeah.
So it's audio, visual, text. It encompasses. That's what, one third of the senses.
Yeah, it's
something like that.
It's almost contradictory because you're talking about music literacy, which is its own study and theory. And to say, I can articulate music if you're studied in music, yeah, that's a thing. So you can't, I've never met some sort of polyglot who can just know everything about media and just has knowledge of every medium ever. It just does not happen. So I've known critics that criticize everything because they have knowledge of a little area of each of those, but not as a whole.
Oh.
Just are actually illiterate. How many times have you seen this sort of tweet or post? Media literacy isn't taught in school. Why don't we teach media?
It's because it doesn't exist.
It's because it was made up a year or two ago.
So, in terms of, learning how to read and to be able to interpret a book, or, be able to, listen to music and be able to interpret the meaning of a song or the composition, that sort of stuff is taught in schools. And you can use what you learn about how to interpret books to interpret films and,
really?
TV. Because, it's storytelling. So if you know how to interpret a story, you can use it on any media that has a story in it.
I see what you're saying, but the sensibilities for appreciating a comic book is more similar to appreciating a movie.
Yeah, it's in a different way, yeah.
Yeah.
The way we start all of that is simply by assessing what are we listening to, what are we seeing, what is the text, what is on the screen. And that is how you do interpretation of anything. First, you need to assess what is actually there before you can interpret those things and how they work together. And that is what all the critiques of for example, the Disney Star Wars have done. And the SJWs hated those critiques because they tore these things apart, interpreted them correctly as garbage, as dysfunctional,
because
as objectively crap.
In order to get that far, you need to know what is media of that genre. We can go back to drama from Shakespeare. Why is Shakespeare relevant? Why is it still taught today? And then we go into the realm, as you said, of Star Wars. Well, what is Star Wars? Go to the original. Why is that good? Here are the examples. And then you understand why the prequels are now having a resurgence since episode 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah.
I responded. Well, I didn't respond to a comment on Gargamel's latest video on Star Wars, but I did write what I would have responded with in the. Okay, so there's a comment on Gargamel's latest Star Wars video. 100% the Witchers don't break any established ideas on the Force in Star Wars. The biggest breaking of how the Force works are the people who cling to the idea of balancing the Force and the Grey Jedi. If the idea of balancing the Force is, breaks canon, then explain to me, what the fuck is the point of episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6? What is the point of Anakin Skywalker?
The thing that the SJWs did then by inventing now this term media literacy is to say, no, it is media literate to like Star Wars and find it amazing, and you who don't like it, who don't find it amazing, you are wrong. You're illiterate because you don't share our avant-garde, snobbish opinion that we are correct.
Okay.
And that's it.
This is what this juvenile tweet sounds like. But anyway, let's keep going.
begging the West to teach media literacy in schools. They literally do teach you that stuff. It's not our fault that you didn't pay attention and now assume that everyone is as uneducated as you. The next clue is this little graph, which...
Stupid and overeducated.
You know, it really depends on how weird your English teacher is, because most...
Oh, this is a common problem.
Yeah, most poetry or most stories are pretty self-explanatory. So
yeah, but this is a more common problem than you may think. There was even an experiment once where the author of a poem or something submitted her own interpretation of her poem, and she only got 60% on it.
That's great.
So this is a problem, but this has nothing to do with the actual term, because the actual term is misleading. It's supposed to make you believe it is about this when it isn't.
Okay.
And we're just going to repeat that over and over.
a lot more to unpack than what appears in the text. When an author says the curtains are blue, sometimes the curtains are just blue. That is often the case, but not always the case. Sometimes the curtains are blue in order to create this image of oppressive sadness in the reader's mind. Or sometimes the curtains are blue because it's the character's favorite color. Or sometimes the curtains are blue because of some trivial piece of world building. The color blue means different things to different people. If you can think of a deeper meaning for the curtains to be blue, have at it. If you can't connect it to other details in the story, then it's not worth racking your brain on it, because sometimes the curtains are just blue. The third clue is nothing new. Sometimes creators, critics, journalists, and commentators just straight up don't know what they're talking about.
Well, yeah, but not to them. They think they know exactly what they're talking about.
Sarkeesian is completely aware that she does not know what she's talking about regarding video games, but she certainly knows what she's talking about in order to make propaganda for her socialist grift.
Yeah.
Which he had admitted to. Somebody sent me the actual article, but it was the actual audio clip, and I have not yet listened to it.
Is that the one where she's in university and she's sharing? She doesn't like video games.
No, it's just audio. It's just audio. Yeah. No, it's where she admits that not that she doesn't know video games, but where she admits that it is not about feminism, but about socialism.
Oh, I want to hear that one. That'd be great. Yeah, that'd be.
Well, yeah, and when you understand that feminism is just socialism, it's one of the socialist grifts in the first place, like the workers' movement that they captured. It becomes a bit more nonsensical, but it's one of the activist arms of the movement that comes always in different shapes.
Yeah, it's not just I want
details.
Freedom for women around the world the same way people want peace for around the world. It's how can I make money arguing that women are great and superior and men need to
how can I get power? Oh, I tell people that they have to give me power or they're bad people. Surprisingly works with women.
Everything is racist, everything is homophobic, and you have to point it all out.
I have 3 examples that I like to use when highlighting this fact. All 3 of them involve the internet's favorite punching bag, fascism. Most people that try to take shots at fascism don't actually know what fascism is, because the details of fascist doctrine...
That's probably a much bigger book than it should be.
Yes.
Read The Doctrine on Fascism by Mussolini and the foreword by Giovanni Gentile, I think that's his name was. It's 20-something pages. It will take you an hour tops. Yeah. You'll be fine.
But kudos to him, or praise, or whatever you say in this poem. B sticker. He gets a B sticker for going in the right direction for explaining fascism.
Have been obfuscated by academia in order to hide its roots in socialism, but fascism was coined by Benito Mussolini, who had been a member of the Italian Socialist Party. Before becoming dissatisfied with socialists for not being socialist enough, Roger Ebert quite infamously gave a mediocre review to the 1974 action thriller classic Death Wish.
Really?
He called it a quasi-fascist advertisement for urban vigilantes, because to Roger Ebert...
A Bronson film really was fascist? That's okay. Wow.
Everything's fascist.
Yeah.
Except
So,
socialism.
After him, fascism is any time people have guns. This is quite literally the opposite of fascism. A core tenet of fascism, one that must be implemented before fascism can take hold, is the disarmament of the general populace. The fact Paul Kersey was able to acquire a gun,
Which, according to Aristoteles, is what solely tyrannies do because they are afraid of their own populace.
It depends on
Only tyrannies disarm you.
It depends on what flavor of Italian fascism he's referring to, because they do allow private property rights, just not guns, so or cannons or armaments.
Yeah, well, that is the disarmament of your populace.
Exactly.
And that is done because you are oppressing and exploiting your own populace and therefore must fear it.
Right. Whereas the socialists are just like, no, we're going to take it. Whereas the fascists are like, well, you can own it, but it's going to be ours anyway. So
no.
It actually belongs to the
You're getting. You're still falling for the trick. All socialism is fascism. The core of fascism
are the same. Yes, I agree.
Yes, the core of fascism is simply everything within, nothing without, nothing against. It's just hyper-tribalism. Everybody, like it's a cult. Everybody needs to be in the cult. Nobody is allowed to question it.
It's either nationalistic or it's communal group, large group, and keeps getting bigger and bigger. So
yeah, and
same thing.
And there's no light version of that. Every socialism has to have that because it's always a totalitarian Orwellian nightmare. And therefore, the populace can't have guns.
I just wanted to make that distinction because if you do read that book, they will talk about private property rights as opposed to German fascism or Japanese fascism or this or that. Anyway.
Yeah, the thing is with the German fascism, which did the Nazis actually call themselves fascists ever, or was it just put on them? The thing is, the Nazis never got to actually follow through with all that they wanted to do because they lost the war, which is a good thing. But they would have shown their socialist face then. They had already a lot of socialist policy but had to cut that short because while you're waging a war, you cannot at the same time create complete chaos in your economy.
Yeah, it's kind of like saying, well, you're nationalistic during war, but you think that's going to go away just because you're so dedicated to the state when war ends. So
I don't know what you mean with that. Yeah. All socialism is also nationalistic, but to the extreme.
That's right.
Because you have to be a nationalist to the socialist leadership.
You're right. So it doesn't matter if it's wartime or not wartime. You're still under the threat of everything else that's not the state. So it doesn't. It's kind of like 1984. You're perpetually in war when there is no war.
Yeah, yeah. In there was a recent thing in China where children in a school for the disabled when not singing the anthem loud enough, and were therefore reprimanded for non-nationalistic behavior. They were not nationalistic enough.
Okay,
because they can't sing loud enough. Madness.
Let's keep going.
What the comically inept police were not able to is as far from fascism as you can get. But that was just a movie critic's personal views and experiences interfering with his ability to understand the effects trauma can have on a man like Paul Kersey. What happens when a creator intends to lampoon an idea for the sake of deconstructing it? Comic writer Alan Moore famously hates his own work and the entire medium that made him.
Did he say he hates his own work? I don't know.
He is dissatisfied with Watchmen.
I know he doesn't like the fans in general, and he has reasons for that, but I don't know about his... He's done so much work. You have to be very specific, so...
How does his jacket work? It has buttons on both sides.
I was going to say, he has gone on record saying that, well, not the entire story, but he did regret paralyzing Barbara and killing Joke.
Okay.
I don't think you're supposed to be able to fasten that.
Anyway, that's fine.
Especially hates Watchmen and the growing number of Rorschach fans. At the end of the day, he has nobody to blame but himself. Alan Moore is a writer who is incapable of creating.
Yeah, but this is no different than a writer not knowing the importance of his own work or the impact it will have and his personal taste, because you can create a character that you don't like that a reader can love. So that's totally normal.
Isn't Rorschach's first scene, well, one of his earliest scenes at least, him killing a paedophile?
Yeah, that's his flashback origin story, if you will.
And I think that's one of the reasons he has so many fans. There's that, and the fact that he basically willingly goes to prison and...
Yeah. Rorschach is the
he
hero.
did what was necessary. He did what was necessary to survive, and it was also the right thing.
Yeah, he believes in exactly what he believes in. He never changes. I want the truth. I want justice, and he dies for it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's basically the Batman of that universe.
He's a paragon.
He built his entire career off of repurposing the work of others for his own personal gain. Watchmen is no different.
Well, he's just doing his job. I mean, if you're asked to be a writer, here's the toys to play with. Go write about them. That's what he's going to do. So you can't fault him for doing his job, really.
Yeah, Watchmen is not just simply inspired by things. It's a whole exploration of what if this whole superhero thing worked differently.
Exists because Moore wanted to use the characters DC had recently acquired from Charleston Comics, but DC told him no because they already had plans for Blue Beetle and The Question. Moore managed to get his original story greenlit so long as he used new characters, and he did, sort of. He used The Question as a template for Rorschach and then used Rorschach to dunk on The Question's original creator, famous comic artist Steve Ditko. Ditko was a fan of objectivism. Alan Moore hated objectivism, and so he tried using Rorschach as a strawman against Ditko and everything he believed in. And it fucking backfired gloriously because it turns out Alan Moore doesn't actually understand the appeal of superheroes, doesn't understand the appeal of The Question, and doesn't even seem to understand that Rorschach being the only character not okay with mass murder endeared him to the readers.
See, this is a great example of him not understanding, if you want to believe what he's saying, the impact that his story is having, yet still creating characters that people like for the reasons he dislikes. That's great.
The moron, the guy created a spoof of The Question only to make his spoof just as popular, if not more popular than Question.
Yeah, it's
the
like,
irony.
It was like making a villain that you dislike because he's a villain, but people empathize with the villain because of his plight or whatever that is, because he's honorable, because he's serious, whatever. Give a reason that people can associate with. So Rorschach is a hero.
Yeah, but again, I do like the inherent irony of the fact that he created Rorschach specifically as a spoof of The Question to rag on Ditko's objectivism. But then Rorschach ended up being just as, if not more popular than Question.
Which goes to show...
Because Rorschach does not abide by some nonsensical for the greater good crap, which is what the ending of Watchmen leads to.
Which goes to show that...
Which, to point out, The Question does also abide by that.
Oh, yeah.
To add to the irony.
When it comes to the greater good, there's no sacrifice too great...
Yeah, and like this is all about him as a writer. He's skilled enough to do the job he was asked to do in a creative and effective way to tell a story, which was successful. I would say Watchmen is one of the top 3 most read comic books or most popular comic books ever. Yet still have opposing views. So that is an example. Like, this is why I don't care about Alan Moore's political beliefs or whatever he thinks of his audience. It's like, it doesn't matter what he thought. It's what he did, what he produced as media, that the rest of us go, wow, what a great story, what a great character, what a great twist. And we can reflect on that and what that means to us, as opposed to him using his politics to create. Imagine it was the opposite. Rorschach was like this, I don't know, left-leaning, we can lie so long as it's for the greater good, or don't worry about deaths. There's never enough too many to keep people in the way of progress or whatever. It's like, oh my God, excuse me. That won't be any good.
That's kind of a problem with Alan Moore, though. He's spent at least the last few years trying to tell fans that they're wrong about Rothschild,
Yeah.
What did you say to call? Yeah. What did you say to call him? Pipe chess. I can't say his name.
That is a great example that someone's work outlives their opinions on the work itself, which is great.
Yeah, just say pipe chess. But what
is trying to tell people that they're wrong about him because he personally disagrees with the character about mass murder and paedophilia and whatever.
Oh no! What a horrible thing for Rorschach to kill pedophiles. Oh no! Alan Moore must be against Rorschach. What the fuck? The thing is, what Alan Moore does here is something, or has made, is something very similar to Paul Verhoeven, who accidentally makes absolutely brilliant works that completely contradict what he wanted to make.
That's a good example, yeah. RoboCop, Heinlein's work with Starship Troopers.
Yeah,
it's great.
And he's the same.
Like him because he violently murdered a pedophile or something? I wonder why Alan Moore would have a problem with that. Let's segue into Starship Troopers before you look into Lost Girls and end up scarred for life. Starship Troopers always comes up in these discussions because book author Robert Heinlein and film director Paul Verhoeven have very different ideas about the world of Starship Troopers, and the two don't mix at all. Now, I'm not much of a fan of either of these people. They're both victims of Poe's law, which dictates that any attempt to parody can end up being mistaken for a genuine view. Troopers movie fails as a parody for two reasons. First, similar to Watchmen's Rorschach, Verhoeven has a warped idea of what fascism actually is. He seems to be under the impression that fascism is any time the military has nice outfits. I do not have the time or patience to explain how reductive that is, or how it once again buries the true horrors of fascist doctrine by hiding behind its common aesthetics. Starship Troopers, the book, and therefore the movie by proxy, is not fascist. The bugs attacked first. The bugs are genocidal. The bugs can't be reasoned with. The bugs only...
It does share some similarities in nationalism, but that's just because the humans are going to die.
Oh my god, the species is working together against a common threat. Oh no,
yeah,
the horror.
The women are put in positions that they're most efficient at as like managers and pilots because they have better whatever skills that men don't have. It's like
allegedly in Starship Troopers, women can park backwards.
Yeah, like that's fine. It's like great, go for it. That's a fine story, and people are trying to survive, and they hate the enemy. It's like they want to live. Fair enough.
And people
start to loot.
Also, in Starship Troopers, people are allowed to disagree with the with the conflict against the bugs.
Oh, yeah, and if you want to vote, you have to be a citizen, which means you have to sign up for the military, which sounds fine.
But you only get to vote after you leave the military.
Civil service.
Right. Yeah, which I think originally we had voting because we didn't want women to go to war, so the men were forced to vote to say, do I want to go to war? Yes, then I will sign up.
I mean, the men only really got the vote, a year before the women got the vote, and the men had to sign up for the draft. Prior to that, a requirement for voting was you had to own land.
Yeah. You had something to lose. Did you want to risk it and fight for your country or your whatever reason was? Yes, then you can come. Okay.
Volunteer-based, often inept, because fighting giant bugs is drastically different from fighting people. So they keep using tactics that would work if they were invading another country, but end up getting slaughtered, leading to them needing to recruit even younger and less experienced people to fight. The anonymity of the internet has exacerbated the straw man effect. People will strategically edit videos, crop Twitter posts, post article headlines without going further.
Let me see this. Dear Metroid Dread. Oh, this is Kotaku. Who gives a shit?
They're into it, and sometimes that's just
they want. Whoa. Oh god. So Kotaku.
Go back to that.
Go back.
You want to go back?
Yeah, can we
go back to that previous tweet?
mainly for the sake of having it on screen, since we're going to
Yeah.
talk about it.
Okay.
Right there.
So Kotaku wants Metroid Other M2.
No, they don't. Please say no.
Nobody wants it, but them.
That's basically
Samus
what the argument
an
was.
emotionless robot in Mother M.
Yeah.
She was an emotionless robot whose only emotion was fear.
Well,
when she had that PTSD attack with Ridley.
The
Yeah,
personality.
but that was resolved. That was also already resolved before the first game.
Yeah, the personality of Samus is not really a focus of the narrative.
Before the first game, at the absolute latest in the first game. No further than that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Metroid Prime series showcases that you don't need a voice to have characterization. When
people rag on Prime 3 for losing the series' sense of isolation, but the other 3 hunters being there and working with the Federation, that kind of does show a little bit of the emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like when the second hunter, Gore, is taken by Dark Samus, the first thing Samus does is try to shoot the bitch before she takes him.
I remember in Fusion, Samus went through basically every emotion from that game.
Yes.
And right at the end, she was locked in a room and she was just screaming at the computer she named Adam, "Open this door!"
Yeah, because for most of the story at that point is because she reminded him of the original Adam. Then it was revealed that...
Yeah,
go ahead.
Fusion was a classic return to
Please, Adam.
What we liked in the Super Nintendo era. So it worked, regardless of that.
For the longest time, Fusion was the end of the series.
Yeah, that's true.
It isn't anymore, but for like 20 years straight, it was the last game in the timeline.
What was the fan one that came out? It was based off
AM2R.
AM2R?
A remake, which was a remake of 2.
Yeah.
Which, in my mind, is like...
remake.
Which, the official remake is really good, but for me, the fan remake is the one that sticks much closer to the original vision.
It was really good. I remember playing it, yeah.
Yeah, but back to games like Fusion and the Prime games, where it's like they do explore Samus more as a character on an emotional level.
It's just not the focus of the game because it never was, and it doesn't have to be. It's not
what they're there for.
It's always secondary to the core adventure.
Right.
And that usually makes it better.
It's the same with Mario games, with Link games. All the classic Nintendo games have a cipher that we all know as Samus or Link or whomever, and it's fine. Now, you could argue Paper Mario and the Super Mario RPG, there's a whole bunch more characterization with all the other characters as well, but it's not the focus for the main character. We don't need that.
Going further into it, and sometimes that's just a limit of the video essay medium. Sometimes it's done for the sake of brevity, sometimes it's done maliciously. But if you strawman somebody, you should be ready for them to strawman you right back. Ideas and statements are less valid when they can't hold up under scrutiny. X-Men 96...
Before we go into that...
Oh boy.
Before we go into that...
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. So, before we go into that, do you want to know why it is more likely that they called Heinlein's book fascist? It's not because of the military stuff. It's because he has 3 short passages in it that completely take the socialist ideology apart. One of them goes into the value theory of labor, and he does it in 1 bloody paragraph. Things that people have written books about to try to understand or debunk, because Marxist Das Kapital is written in complete arcane crypto language that is just words like media literacy all over, where you have the innocent meaning that you read it as, where the text makes no sense at all. And then you have the arcane personal definition meaning of everything. And when you keep track and write your own dictionary to understand what Marx is actually saying, you decode him, then you get what he's saying, and it's complete nonsense. And to sum up the value theory of labor, so that you actually understand what socialism really believes and why it always fails as an economic system, Heinlein summed up in one little paragraph where Rico remembers his teacher, Mr. Dubois, from the school, teaching about it, saying, "Of course, the Marxian definition of value is ridiculous. All the work one cares to add will not turn a mud pie into an apple tart. It remains a mud pie, value 0. By corollary, unskillful work can easily subtract value. An untalented cook can turn wholesome dough and fresh green apples, valuable already, into an inedible mess, value 0. Conversely, a great chef can fashion of those same materials a confection of greater value than a commonplace apple tart, with no more effort than an ordinary cook uses to prepare an ordinary sweet. These kitchen illustrations demolish the Marxian theory of value, the fallacy from which the entire magnificent fraud of communism derives, and to illustrate the truth of the common sense definition as measured in terms of use." Dubois had waved his stump at us. "Nevertheless, wake up back there. Nevertheless, this disheveled old mystic of Das Kapital, turgid, tortured, confused, and neurotic, unscientific, illogical, this pompous fraud, Karl Marx, nevertheless had a glimmering of a very important truth. If he had possessed an analytical mind, he might have formulated the first adequate definition of value, and this planet might have been saved endless grief."
Okay, fair enough.
And a cooking allegory.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful speech.
All right. Let's keep going.
Earlier this year and reportedly failed to gain an audience. The audience that did see it loved it, but weren't willing to accept valid criticisms for it. Magneto is one of the most thoroughly dissected characters in all of fiction, so
That's
as
Magneto?
a longtime comic fan,
Yep.
I don't understand why some people fail to grasp the flaws of his ideology. Magneto is not in the right, and that's okay. He's a character so deeply traumatized by his experience in the Holocaust and the continued persecution of mutants that it has driven him insane, and his positions are validated by the nature of American comic books. The story of the X-Men can't end because Magneto refuses to back down. Magneto refuses...
I swear he looks like a weird version of Granny Goodness. Just
He's just sleeveless without the helmet, okay?
Why is he wearing a dress?
There was what was the version of Joseph, which was like a young clone version of Magneto, I think. That's like he's a young man with long blowing hair. It's like, oh wow, he looks cool. But there's been so many iterations of Cable and the X-Man and other things which are all clones of Summers. So
it looks a bit like David Bowie.
but everything does. Everything looks like David Bowie. Everything looks like David Bowie. That's the beauty of Bowie. It's like, I could see a little bit of Bowie in 65, and it's like, okay. Anyway.
To back
I don't see a
down
little
because
bit of Bowie in
ordinary
that.
people in the Marvel Universe are horrible, and they are all written that way because Marvel refuses to let the story end. And this isn't unique to the X-Men either. In fact, the racial politics of the X-Men and Magneto's Holocaust survivor backstory were later additions made by Lin Wein and Chris Claremont. Originally, the shit the mutants would get was no different from Jameson.
The trouble, especially with the animated head we saw, if Magneto is a Holocaust survivor because he was a Jew, why do they draw him like an Aryan god?
Oops.
I mean, so aren't the Aryans from that region?
Is he German? I don't even know his background.
What? I didn't understand what you said, Fred. No.
I thought so. I thought they were Polish Jew, but yeah, aren't the Aryans from the Middle East?
Oh, you don't know that the Nazis made up all the Aryan stuff.
Oh no! I
doesn't have anything. It doesn't have anything to do with the goat herders.
I do know that the Nazis made it up because
what I meant is
because according to the Nazis, the Aryans were 8 foot. Well, were blonde, blue-eyed giants about what 8
Yeah,
foot
that's-
tall.
Yeah,
Something
that's what Magneto looks like there. He doesn't look like a Jew at all.
All right.
Slandering a man, General Ross's hounding of the Hulk, or young people's criticisms of Captain America. The difference is that mutants are born with their unique abilities, thus making them
Hey, who's that guy in the... Oh, is that Morph?
Yep.
What'd they do
Morph?
to him? Why is he a big
Wait.
white guy? What's...
Isn't X-Men a total rejection of the blank slate theory?
Wait, what did they do to my favourite? Why does she look like a lesbian?
Oh, what? Storm's
The,
hair?
the irony is that they did later in the show. They do change it to the all black outfit with her original hair.
The Mohawk?
Yeah, Storm without. No.
Because they knew the Mohawk, because they realized the Mohawk really was as stupid as people were saying.
Storm needs that whole. Storm looks
She needs
greatest
to have
when she
a
has the big wavy hair, because that makes her look like a storm witch. That's
In the case of this outfit,
when she's using her powers, her hair just sort of flows around her.
Yeah, how can you mess with that?
Gambit looks
It
awesome.
looks fucking great.
Well, most of the characters look exactly the same.
Yeah. Except, I think, Cable...
Except with the wokeisms that you'd expect.
Yeah, Bishop has got a haircut. That's about it. But other than that...
How could they do this to
I mean,
my
that's
girl?
fine.
And-
I mean, that's fine. It's just...
Yeah. Jubilee's Jubilee. She never changes. That's fine.
Yeah, Scott and Jean look basically the same as they did. Wolverine, they're not going to mess with the design.
Yeah. All right.
She's-
I think Rose got a bit puffier hair. That's about it. Yeah.
Yeah, but a flatter ass.
Oh god, from the waist down, she's a woman, kinda.
I hope so.
She looks soft. But from the waist up, she looks kind of like She looks kind of like she's Spider-Man with boobs.
Wait, who?
Storm.
Storm's fine.
What?
She's fine.
The asslessness issue is so dumb, because that's something a good ass you simply get from working out, from moving around. These are heroes. They move all the time. That's why the men are all ripped. So the women would all have fine asses, because their muscles would be trained.
Except Jubilee, because she's still young, but aside from her...
What? She's old enough. Dude.
Younger than the others.
I will not tell you what age that part of the female body starts developing.
That's not what I'm saying. That's
The
not
whole thing.
what I'm trying to bring up.
Listen to what I'm saying. Any woman can have a great ass. All she needs to do is do 20 squats every 2 days. That's it. Nobody needs to have a flat ass. Nobody.
And eat lots of cake. Anyway.
You don't need to eat cake. You just need to do 20 squats.
Well, I'm just saying. It helps. Anyway.
Black,
Cake is
Hispanic,
nice.
Jewish, and female readers. Ween and Claremont capitalized on this, and in doing
that
so
looks
brought
amazing.
X-Men to heights far
Yeah.
beyond what
Yeah,
the
the black outfit is what they
during the
changed
Lee
Storm to
Kirby
later
era.
in
But the
97.
whole franchise has been so politicized that it's difficult to even have an honest debate about the merits of Magneto and the X-Men. You can't point out how fucked up it is that Magneto probably killed thousands of people by causing a planet-wide EMP.
Oh.
You're not allowed to point out that everything Magneto does in X-Men 97 scares people even more, making them more determined to create stronger Sentinels to combat against him. You can't talk about how stupid it is that Rogue is taking her trauma out on Captain America, a character who in the comics has only ever been an ally to all mutant kind. I think people too often conflate allegory for applicability. Allegory is when parts of a story stand in for specific things outside of the...
Wait, what?
That's... I was going to say, that last one for X-Men 97, that's when you know something's not right. When any of the X-Men have any beef against Captain America. Even though he's done nothing but help them.
I got to re-listen to that definition of allegory. I think we cut him off there. So I want to hear him properly.
I just wanted to point that out because Captain America is always like you said in the video, Rogers has always been an ally to the X-Men. So for Rogue to go off on him like that, he's not right.
All right, I gotta watch that show. That I still haven't gotten around to it. Anyway, Frog Jupiter, thank you, sir. I'm so media literate that I think the cannibal force snoo folk from the hills have eyes are just justified because they represent American Indians.
Oh, fucking hell. I forgot who that was.
Oh, God.
I don't want to bring that up because I'm going to go off on a tangent if I do. So, too much to go through in that sentence. It's like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, and again, it's like the only X-Men that has any right to go off on Cap is Logan. And that's because of his temper.
I didn't know.
No one else would treat Steve like Rogue did in that scene.
I don't know what's going on with Rogue, but she's always been a very nice girl, so I don't know what's going on.
It involves something. It involves her backstory and how Captain America ties into it.
Oh, okay.
But again, she had no right to go off on him like the way she did.
All right.
She's a hysterical woman. She's been written by a hysterical woman now, so she is just a hysterical woman self-insert.
Well,
which you're not allowed to call hysterical because that's misogynistic.
The text says, even in this scene, he tells Rogue everything she would want to know. So he's still being helpful to her, and she just throws a tantrum anyway.
Exactly.
All right, let's hear his definition of a what was it?
You want a character to
Allegory.
go off on you want someone to go off on Captain Frickin' America. It better be for a damn good reason.
All right, here we go.
I think people too often conflate allegory for applicability. Allegory
I don't know how you would do that, but anyway.
is when parts of a story stand in for specific things outside of the story.
Why would it? That would be a component of allegory. Allegory could be within the story just fine, like the allegory of the cave. And it brings out a hidden meaning of what the cave represents. That's normal symbolism, so it's fine. Maybe he has a better example.
What's the difference between metaphor and allegory?
Oh, I have to use that definition I brought up when I was arguing with, what's his face? That guy who my brain can't recall. I have to give the definition again.
So not Gargamel.
Gargamel? Sorry, what did you say?
He means that's his nickname for Anthony Removal.
I have no idea how to pronounce that Italian name, and I can't bother to figure it out. So I'm just going to call him Gargamel.
Gramuglia. Jesus.
Yeah, I don't care. I'm just going to call him Gargamel anyway.
Okay.
Well, that's you, but I'm just making it clear.
So metaphors, if I remember the exact definition, it's a literary example that's not a literal. So it's like I wouldn't call you a sack of potatoes, right? Because you sit around the house all day. Like you look like a thing, but you're not literally the thing. Whereas an allegory is a visual representation or any kind of phrase that means something hidden that's not visually or on the surface known. And people get those confused a lot. And that's, again, if we're going to have an argument, you have to use the right terms and the right words to argue. And if you screw up, I'll knock you down for that.
So he's got Lord of the Rings here, so I'm assuming that he's going to say something about how Tolkien hated allegory.
Maybe.
Is when you can take aspects of the story and apply them to your own life. There's plenty of overlap, but modern writers get so hung up on allegory and essayists focus on specific allegory so much that they completely miss how these things can apply to other people. There was a recent video essay by a breadtuber named In Praise of Shadows where he slandered fellow YouTuber Wendigoon.
I care deeply about horror, and everything that he does has demonstrated...
Okay, he likes horror. I won't laugh at him. I'm sorry. You like what you like, sir. Good for you.
...its career, that he should not be welcomed in our spaces. Or
What?
even, just in public in general. Or even,
Yeah.
just in public...
Who are these people?
Yeah.
What did he say?
Yeah. When I first saw this, the actual video this is from, I was just thinking, what a fucking scumbag.
If you disagree, if Whisp and I disagree on, I don't know, Castlevania, one of us will not say to the other, you're not welcome to talk to us about Castlevania anymore. And public. You can't come out in public anymore. It's like, what the hell? Excuse me? What's wrong? Jeez, these guys really hate each other.
These are the guys who are against gatekeeping.
People.
You can't go out and buy bread. You deserve to die. Like, whoa.
Yeah, now you know why communists do that.
Crazy. Anyway.
This is an attitude that many leftists hold. It was even reinforced a few years ago by Democrat Congresswoman Maxine Waters.
What?
If you see anybody
What's this?
on that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department
I remember that.
store,
You do?
at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd.
Wow.
Push back on them.
That is a fascist.
After hearing those two
Yeah.
clips, is it any wonder why conservatives might feel as though they have something in common with the X-Men? Is it any wonder that these same people might feel ostracized by...
Guys, don't ever badger someone in public because you recognize them for whatever reason. Please, that's horrible.
Yeah.
idea.
That's what fascists do.
All right. Let's just keep going.
who hold them in contempt? And if you're not a real...
See, that is a female looking. I don't know what's going on, but that is very feminine looking face.
Yeah, he's elvenized.
Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah, one way of putting it.
Or you're
Which song
media
do you think is
illiterate.
singing?
Or you're exactly the kind of person the show is making fun of. Presumptions about critics is a serious problem for video essayists. You know what?
Which one? All of them combined? The guy who wants to ostracize people because he disagrees with them? Really? Okay.
Still a better essayist than Gargamel.
Well, I don't want to argue yes or no because I don't know exactly what this guy said outside of hating one of his bread tuber friends, but I wouldn't disagree on principle.
This debate with these hacks. If you don't like Rey from Star Wars, it's
No.
because you're a sexist. If you don't like Black Panther, it's because you're a racist. If you don't like how certain studios design their characters, then you don't know what real women look like. Don't try to pull any historical revisionism. We all have the receipts. We all saw the backlash against Stellar Blade daring to use actual human beings as the basis for their characters. We all saw how real actors have their faces and bodies manipulated by character design.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's-
this one's a special example because the woman, if it was a woman, they used for Mary Jane in the game was not the actress you see on the right or model. They paid her, but whom they actually modeled Mary Jane after was one of the people who worked on the team. That is a self-insert of the team. It has nothing to do, absolutely zero to do with that model.
Is
That's
that-
why Mary Jane looks so different.
Is that the same
She looks
game
completely different.
where she's like Solid Snake and she just takes everyone out
Yeah.
with like a stun
Yeah.
gun or something?
Yeah.
She
No,
looks
that's in-
completely different
well, that's
to how
what-
she
well, that's
does in
been
the
a-
first game.
Well, that's been a thing since the first game, and I've said before that is literally the most hated part of the first game.
Oh.
Not exactly. In the first game, she did get a stun gun, but she didn't take out a bunch of guys in an
First-
open fight.
Her sections were
just,
still the most.
completely hidden.
They were still
They
the
were
most
the
hated
most.
part of the.
They were the most hated sections because they were stealth sections in a game that is nothing about stealth.
And even though the character we actually came for can do stealth perfectly fine.
And I will say it here, especially because this is the perfect opportunity, and I missed it every time before. This Mary Jane character model looks like a Habsburg. That's a Habsburg chin. That's the Habsburg lips. They are very prevalent in the area I live. There are a lot of women who look like this, with the giant chin and almost the missing part between the upper lip and the nose. It looks absolutely weird. The
I'm gonna
Habsburgs
say
fucked
she-
around too much.
I'm going to say she looks like a character from the first Shrek movie.
Well, that as well. That as well.
Farquaad.
All right. Let's keep going. Here's Legacy for the $1.99. Thank you, sir. 97 Magneto is reminding me of. Okay, come on. Yeah, okay, David. Everything reminds you of David Bowie. We got it.
We just said this earlier. Why'd you say it again?
Anyway.
Legacy, why'd you say? We already said this
She
before.
looks-
Legacy.
We can sound smart.
Anyway.
That-
the Mary-
Anyway.
Mary Jane here looks completely different to how she did in the first of the.
Yeah,
the
different-
Yeah, because that
as
wasn't
well.
a self-insert yet.
Yeah, different is one thing. Worse is something else.
Yeah, and we don't call her a Mary Jane, but there are elements from fanfic bad writing that are carried from that, and this is one of those examples of self-insert, literal self-insert.
This is Carrie Kane. It's not Mary Jane.
Oh God.
Okay.
Oh no! I just realised what's coming up. You see the picture below.
Oh
Oh
god!
Oh, that one.
It's Fable. It's gonna be Fable,
All right. let's
which
go.
is also a self-insert from a
Still some
someone who
body
worked there.
positivity.
Yeah, that one.
I guess their love of
Ah.
body positivity doesn't affect their casting.
And then there's
decisions.
goddamn Lizzo.
Suicide Squad Kill the Justice
Oh,
League was a
no.
watershed moment for all of this. I think this was the moment when
This didn't
everyone
happen.
started turning on media literacy. Because in order to defend its character design, its creative choices, its partnership with Sweet Baby Inc., the contributions the consulting firm made, and any of the creative decisions that coalesced into the final product, you have to defend the worst, most unpleasant game in recent memory.
Why did they do that to John?
That's John?
That's
He has,
John's sword.
he has Green Lantern undies.
It's because yeah, that's all. That's to pile on more embarrassment for him. It's the fact that the Suicide Squad beat him, and King Shark takes his ring and can use it somehow.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
The only member of the Justice League treated with any level of respect is the one who looks like an Israeli.
Look, Ginga, the way that the Green Lantern ring doesn't work the way it should, that Shark can use it, is proof that this is not canon, but just random anti-fan fiction.
Yeah, because do you know what the fundamental flaw with that is? With King Shark being able to use it?
Yeah, he shouldn't.
Because
He's not virtuous. He cannot be chosen by the ring. The ring chooses.
Exactly. Yeah. You have to be chosen. When Abin Sur died, his ring went to Hal.
Well, the Green
when John died, when John dies right there, the ring should have gone off to God knows where to pick the new lantern.
Yeah,
you can't just take someone's ring. That's not how it works. It would reject you.
It's the power of hope. So you have to have some.
No, it's willpower.
What's willpower?
Willpower.
Blue is hope.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yeah,
okay.
but it's willpower.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So again,
I was wrong about Wonder Woman, by the way.
Yeah. Again, the fundamental.
She doesn't look Israeli. She looks like a Turk.
Yeah. Again, the fundamental issue with Lantern specifically, and I'm glad a lot of people brought it up. The more people saw it, you have to be chosen. You can't use the ring without being chosen.
Nothing that happens in this game is canon in any way, in any continuity.
You either are chosen or you represent that aspect of the emotional spectrum strong enough to be able to use it, which King Shark does not.
Okay, cool.
Post saying, "What did you expect from a game called Kill the Justice League? I expected the deaths to be interesting, or witty, or dramatic, or at least funny. Suicide Squad being the ones to kill the Justice League is a stupid premise, which means you have to try a lot fucking harder than Rocksteady did in order to make that work. People like Jason Schreier and Chris Stuckman want to pass the blame for recent failure squarely on the nose of faceless corporate entities. That presumes that what..."
Jason Schreier. Let me rewind that.
Oh yeah, he called all the DEI and crap conspiracies.
Is a stupid premise,
really?
Which means you have to try a lot fucking harder than Rocksteady did in order to make
that must have been
work.
Before he left Kotaku.
Yeah, and then the Chris Stuckman still shot right after.
This is after. This is after he left Kotaku. He's still weird.
Yeah. And the still shot for the Chris Stuckman still shot right after this. The Chris Stuckman screen cap right after this is from the video of his that we covered for Madam Web.
That's his famous.
Damn gaslighting.
Yeah.
Just commit Rocksteady, Square.
See, this is.
Oh no! Nothing about the ideology made the thing fail. It was the fans not buying it.
You are chasing angry hallucinations created by grifters who make money off your rage. Wow, Jason.
This is literal gaslighting. He is accusing people of their senses not working right.
The people who disagree with you are
Don't trust your
grifters?
lying eyes.
So he's accusing other people of lying?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What if
That
they actually
sounds
believe
like a
Sweet
fascist.
Baby Inc. is the cause? They're not actually lying and they know the full picture. They just think that. How is that a lie? Jason, come on.
Sweet Baby Inc. is a real company. DEI is a real
Well,
concept.
this is the problem
Because
we had with Anthony,
gaslighters
right?
just lie about reality.
Because he will accuse others of lying and being grifters, and it's like, well, show us the lie. Because they could just be misinformed. They could just have a differing opinion. That's not a lie. Just tell us how they're grifters.
Oh, and also Jay's Reviews just came out with a freaking compilation of all his Arkham series videos. He mentioned Suicide Squad a little bit at the end, and also calling out people for believing the Sweet Baby and DEI stuff, calling it a conspiracy.
Oh, just what the Sweet Baby openly says at its talks that they go into companies and threaten them that if they don't hire them, they'll get bad press and such things.
Well, that's to the point where like a friend of mine, Keyblade Overlord, actually called Jay out in the comments. Like it's just basically telling us like it's not a good look because there's too much information out there to deny this.
Who is this? Jay who?
Jay's Reviews.
Jay's Reviews.
So-
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Black Myth Wukong, the developer of that.
Oh yeah, they
basically
threatened
told
them. They
Sweet
tried to
Baby
export
fuck
them.
off,
That
Yeah,
game
that-
hasn't
and
come out
that-
yet.
which is
That
Which is why-
developer's actively standing against the leftist crap.
Are they
Yeah.
South
That
Korean or are
game
they
is-
Japanese?
No, actually Chinese.
Just Chinese. Oh wow, good stuff.
Yeah.
that game
Well, the
is
thing
also
is, what you need to understand: the Chinese have no use for the woke angle of the culture war, because China is already under socialist tyranny. It has no use for a political tool that only exists to weaken a nation, a people, a culture. That's why they don't let it in.
Yeah,
And Russia doesn't want to let it in because the KGB invented it in the first place. So they know what all this culture war crap is.
All right, let's keep going.
Watchmen want to pass the blame for recent failure squarely on the nose of faceless corporate entities. That presumes that what
Metro Goldwyn Mayer is dead. It's gone. That studio closed in, what was it, 2016 already?
Yeah, and Stuckman was blaming all of Hollywood.
I'm so glad.
only went wrong because of studio interference. I'm gonna segue into Madam Web because Chris Duckman said some silly things in his non-review of the movie, and it was transparently an attempt to ingratiate himself to Hollywood. So
Yes,
transparent,
I agree.
in fact, that he lost
Look at this.
thousands of subscribers overnight after making that video. His core audience did not like how much he defended director S.J. Clarkson. She wasn't some hapless animator forced to do grueling work on a deadline. She was the director, one of the writers, and one of the executive producers. This has always been an issue with journalism criticism. Did you know that Citizen Kane received a lot of pushback when it released? William Randolph Hearst, a media giant of the time, was one of the inspirations for Charles Foster Kane. Hearst took offense to Citizen Kane and pressured journalists and members of the Motion Picture Academy to suppress the film, slander it in papers, and even tried going after Orson Welles himself on a variety of trumped-up charges. Citizen Kane's merits won out in the long run, but in the short term, it diminished the film's success, destroyed his chances for awards, and made it impossible for Welles to make another film of that scale. You don't hate journalists enough. You think you do, but you don't. There is no class willing to sell their souls
Did you see
for the sake of an agenda.
Yeah, have you seen that?
Yeah, I was about to pause on it. Can we go back to that first article?
Yeah, people still try to tell us that the New York
First
Times are
Amendment
not
is
left
not
wing. No,
control.
no.
This came
was
out
10
this
days
month
Yeah,
That was 10.
5
that was
o'clock
less than 2 weeks ago.
in the morning.
yes. Yeah, guest essay, no author, anonymous.
Oh my
This is a weather balloon.
God. That is, I don't know if that's disgusting or just ridiculous.
It's evil. It's treason. This
Yes.
headline alone is treason.
We've had, or at least America's had the First Amendment since its inception. I don't recall anyone saying, "Oh my God, this freedom we have, it's too much. We should not have all this freedom, guys. This is too many.
Yeah.
We say too many things." It's like, what?
Guess who's against free speech and the non-populace? Tyrants, socialists. This is the New York Times is a hard left-wing outlet that pretends to be moderate.
I wish we had a First Amendment in Canada. It would solve a lot of problems that we're having.
Yeah. I wish I was kind of still working. It's not very far up the ladder of articles of our constitution, but it was finally destroyed in 1986. And I'll tell you, half the Jews were against the censorship laws.
Okay. Man, that's scary. Anyway, yeah, I'm just a little sad right now. It's just crazy. Okay.
Class of people willing to sell their souls for the...
My editor trusts my inquiry into child sexual abuse. Now I know why. Peter Wilby, who spent years denigrating victims in the media, has been convicted of possessing the most Okay.
sake of
Every
there is
time.
no class of people more willing to take
class
favors in
15.
exchange for positive coverage and dish out negative coverage for any...
Anthony got 170,000 views for questioning whether the phenomenon that is Harry Potter was good.
That's it's a standard clickbait category.
Huh.
It's like the "Did you know that?" stuff. There's the dark secret of X, the thing you didn't know about.
And he goes over the books, I assume, or maybe just the movies because it's more visual. I don't know.
Are you sure he's going to say anything for 50 minutes?
Who knows? Can't you say TERF 20 times and something about trans people?
This is just Gargamel going, we all enjoyed the books when we were growing up, but did you realise that this woman doesn't like being called a cunt haver or walking flashlight?
If he has
that
this,
makes her transphobic.
If he has the elitist view that I know fantasy and this fantasy is nothing special, and here's a bunch of books, like we had that other guy bring about the story of this trope of a scar on someone's forehead, and they go to a magical school no one knows about. It's like, yeah, we've heard that story before. We know, dude. It's not a big deal. Why are those examples better? And why is this one not as good? And there's lots of reasons for that. And you can make that argument in a very concise, normal fashion. You could argue tropes. You could argue expressions. You could argue budget, all those things. But for whatever reason, give it to a British lady who wrote like the Dickens, not as Dickens, but like the Dickens, and people gobbled it up, and it sold, and it kept accumulating speed as it went on. It got a book, it got a movie deal, and that kept going and going. So, yeah, there's lots of reasons why things work in a perfect storm. We don't know the reasons. We've seen these stories before, and we're gonna keep seeing them. As I've talked today on Morning Nonsense with LitDev, we still have isekais. We still have stories of magic schools and people going there and being the worst at everything and still being excellent at one thing. This is going to keep going on. We love the underdog. We love the guy going from rags to riches. It will never stop until humanity changes in a very profound way, which is beyond my imagination. So, yes, Anthony, whether you like fantasy or you're an elitist of fantasy, we can arguably say, with plenty of examples, Harry Potter was good.
Anyone who them. Hearst's feud with Wells is one of the most prolific, but it at least makes some level of sense. The initial backlash against Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho requires a lot more context. Critics then, just as today, tend to enjoy special privileges. These include exclusive interviews and early screenings for upcoming pieces of entertainment. Hitchcock denied journalists these special privileges, forcing them to watch Psycho for the first time on opening night with everyone else.
Good for him. I don't care. If they went into the fact that he was a skirt chaser and sexual molester, that's another story, but, that's fine. There's lots of things to dislike Hitchcock for. He was still a brilliant writer and a filmmaker. So
This ruined the viewing experience of these journalists who then gave Psycho middling reviews,
Uh-huh.
that they then recanted on by year's end. You see this with positive reviews too. The reason why IGN and Game Informer rarely give scores lower than a 5 out of 10 is because their entire corner of the industry is reliant on maintaining good relationships with studios and publishers. Transparently so. This was the impetus for Gamergate back in 2014.
Oh, God, don't bring this up.
So,
Has to. It's the same thing.
Why not? We're in the second one right now.
In terms of reviews, it's I think 7 out of 10 is the average that they'll give out, and even if the game's really fucking horrible.
It just means that 5 is 0.
Yeah, remember that guy who got sacked from I forgot what website it was, but he did a review on Kane and Lynch.
Oh,
2.
that. Yeah,
And
they were sponsored by him, yeah.
Yeah, he said what was actually there, that the game was fucking horrible, broken, and didn't really function, wasn't all that fun. So they sacked him.
Yeah, and that was with all the ads, the banner ads, the skyscraper ads on the sides of the screen, and it's like, this game sucks. It was great. It's like, you're gonna be honest, that's a great way to do it and get fired. It's like, dude, that's a screen cap. I'm the guy who wrote this article while I was working at this place. So you're gonna prove to everyone you're honest. It's like, yes, that's what you do.
Yes.
Love it.
There's integrity
Recent
right
Sweet
there.
Baby Inc. backlash. It is so transparent that now we are left to assume that any positive coverage for Assassin's Creed Shadows or Star Wars Outlaws only exists so that the would-be critics can ingratiate themselves to these developers or be on the right side of history. The blown-out shills of journalism have certainly eroded people's perception of media literacy and the stuff they've covered.
Yeah, but don't use the term as if it's a thing, sir. Don't be baited into using the term and start arguing. Oh, this is Anthony again?
Look, the infighting.
Maybe stop watching baby shows. Who's that? Clav? Who's hot? I don't know this guy is.
As a Palestinian flag, so it's also and the triangle. So this is also a leftist. Yeah, with the I think there's flags behind the avatar.
So
just like Anthony, who has flags behind his avatar.
Yeah.
So these they're now infighting.
Is it he's not left leaning enough, or he's not gay enough? Like, what's the thing? Like, what do they? You're not good at watching shows.
He's just doing his standard. I'm smart because I'm contrarian thing. When he asked, we've had so much good bullshit representation lately, positive portrayals of the queer community, but is that actually a good thing? Which questions the narrative. That's why he gets attacked, because he's too stupid to even be on his team. It's amazing.
It's always some flavor of the same crap. Just it's not good enough for me because mine's better. I guess I don't know. It's
No, the question is, the implication is, should we make negative representation of the gays?
really.
I mean,
So we can have the harassment gays in oh god, Nate, I'm blanking.
Well, there's the Skyfall. The main villain was homosexual or bisexual. I can't remember.
No, that's Japanese mafia.
Okay. Yakuza?
Game. Yes, Yakuza. Yeah. Yes, the Yakuza games, for example. We can have the harassing gay people again, according to Anthony. It's cool.
I'm just surprised.
Finally fun again.
I'm surprised Anthony hasn't considered, hey, let's have characters in this story who are whatever Alphabet Police or Alpha Mafia, and they could be villains. It's like, oh, why not? It's like, yeah, no shit. Where have you been the past 5,000 years, Anthony? What, all villains are white?
It wasn't the 80s. That was the 80s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So Gargamel is the one who wrote an article on Spider-Man on Peter Parker, right, saying that he doesn't understand why Peter Parker has to be, straight.
Really?
One of the last things One of the last things Stanley is recorded as saying while he was still alive is that Peter Parker will always be straight, they will never be gay, because he was always written to be straight, and that there are other characters who, that gay characters can be made, but they shouldn't just appropriate someone who obviously isn't.
Well, if you're going to change the lore of Peter Parker to be non-heterosexual, you have to say, okay, so we have to create the opposite version of like Gwen Stacy and Mary Jane and whoever else that.
But why?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to go the full route of doing it properly, you have to take the story and the lore and flip it for whatever reason.
Why does anyone need that except for fetishist reasons?
Gargamel is basically the bad guy he's looking for.
Oh yeah, in his crazy thing we covered.
Yeah,
it's so penetrating. It like that's the great thing. He
wants conversion therapy for the straights.
Oh, I mean that's pushing it. But his video is so telling about himself and so blind. It's like he's looking in the mirror, but all the glass has been shattered, and he's just looking at nothing. It is literally a mirror with no reflective glass. And he's like, wow, why is everyone lying? Why is everyone grifting? While he's writing in the comments, we both know why. You covered my video. It's for the view count. And I'm like, did you see my 1,000 view count? Do you think I'm making money? Like $1, was it $1 maybe? If I ever get paid from AdSense? You seriously? Like he makes all these accusations with no evidence, assuming I'm one of his idealistic grifter or what have you. And he does that throughout the conversation. And at the end, he's like, do you honestly think I even care what you're saying? It's like, no, you don't, because you don't understand a word I'm saying. But then again, why are you replying? It's like this is weird. Like he's trying to one-up me. It's like, dude, I'm just trying to talk to you. Can you have a conversation? Who cares if we disagree on topics? Let's actually get to the truth by discussing things. I've invited to talk to him. No, he's never going to talk to anyone. He's never going to change his mind. He's never going to be challenged. It's one of those things where I'm like, I still want to talk to these people. I know we'll get nowhere, but I still want to try. Because I don't think Anthony's dumb. I just think he's so blinded, like completely covered in this philosophy of his or whatever the modern day ism is. I don't even know anymore. I seem to forget these days. I just don't care. And he's so in it that anyone who disagrees with him is grifter or evil or some political ideologue that he must fight because we disagree on something. It doesn't even matter what. So, yeah, it has been over 2 weeks. I'm still waiting for that video of his to pop that he'd said he'd make over us. And it hasn't come out yet.
Yeah.
Don't know.
I'm actually hoping if he ends up pulling an Acerphone out, he'll get irritated at me for not wanting to learn his name.
Well, I would love to talk to him, because if he's going to keep doing this, or if he does keep going back and forth, we're just going to keep doing the same thing. And okay, I mean, I can keep going, and we'll just keep covering your videos.
You've heard of Acerphone, right?
Which one?
The Acerphone.
Acerphone.
Acerthorn.
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 Have we covered him?
I
No.
I don't think so.
No, you haven't.
The name rings a bell, but I don't think I've watched any of his stuff.
Well, let me put it like this.
Extremely litigious. He sues just about everyone.
Really?
To such a point where I'm surprised no one has suggested him yet.
How rich is this guy?
Well, actually, so two things have happened. One, he's attempted to sue so many people for so many billions of dollars that the courts have put a limit on how many cases he can submit per year. And two, he ended up going up against about a dozen YouTubers at once and losing the case so badly that he's in debt for the rest of his life.
I would assume he's bankrupting himself with that. There is I forgot. There's actually a condition named after this sort of behavior. Something
Narcissism?
about No, yes, too, but that's the root of it. That's the foundation. But this the specific behavior of defending the ego, querulent, judiciary querulent or something.
Okay.
There's something like somebody who is just obsessed with just suing everyone and everything. Time.
Yeah, that's the social justice element of justice, or they want to become right morally and legally and whatever, financially, I guess. They want to be right. They have to be right, and everyone else I disagree with is wrong, and I have to prove it. So he's using whatever means to do so. Yeah. Anyway, we went off topic there, but I just find this hilarious. I don't know who this Klav dude is, but it's just like, maybe stop watching baby shows, Mr. Anthony.
I have to agree with the weird person with the Palestine flag.
Yeah.
And the Auschwitz
To the
triangle.
disdain that people are starting to have for snobby elitists, pretending that their interpretation of art is the only correct.
Really need to okay.
We can't read that because it goes over the screen.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
One. And then they claim that portraying certain subjects is the same as glorifying them? This is also a problem that is as old as the art of story analysis. Machiavelli is synonymous with political corruption, even though he wrote The Prince as a comprehensive portrayal of the corruption he had already seen. Same goes for famous philosophers.
Kinda, yeah. Not completely, but
Yeah.
it's not wrong, yeah.
Yeah, but very good. This is there are relatively few people who understand this about Machiavelli. That his book is not actually a manual to do evil, but a collection of everything that can be done politically, and that it is up to you on how you use that.
Yeah,
it is the martial arts of politics.
It's you can't actually use it to govern. If you were like a governor, and as an individual, what would you do, and how would you treat people, and how would that work? So it is actually a good. People see it as, well, he's just a guy who wants all the power and money. It's like, well, that's one route you can take, but it's also about how do you get people to do what you want them to do and why.
Yeah. In order to defend against the evil mechanics, you need to know them, and that's why they're listed in there.
Yeah, like the most,
so that you don't need to employ them, but you need to know them in order to work against them.
Yeah, the most horrible thing is he teaches to do a heinous, disgusting act, but only do it once, because you can't be known as a tyrant who just goes around butchering everyone. But if you want to eliminate everyone from the root, like say a corrupt aristocracy or corrupt military, you have to eliminate them all at once in a very swift movement and keep it as quiet as possible, because you want anyone to know about it. Just know that you solve the problem, and peace can resign or continue.
Don't dilly dally. And similarly, and I've lost the thought. Damn.
Okay.
This is my brain is.
Yeah, if you watch The Rationalist Save the Kingdom, and the anime and the manga is fantastic as well, because that's the one isekai that talks about.
The anime lames a bit out the longer it goes.
It is slowing down. The manga is great, but it actually brings up Machiavelli and the things he does in there, which I thought was hilarious, because it's just a guy studying the humanities, and he comes to another world to save a kingdom. It's great.
Yeah. I remembered. Aristotle in his Politics does the same as Machiavelli does in his book, just that he focuses on the descriptions on the forms of government, how to get to specific ones, how to keep them, and how to destroy them and transition them into others. He also describes this for how to build and maintain a tyranny, and also how to get rid of it, which is doing the opposite things of what makes the tyranny. And what makes the tyranny and how you keep it, he goes through a list of everything you find in George Orwell's 1984, down to make the people distrust one another, so that even families rat out their family members.
All right.
Disarm the people.
Let us keep going. Oh, we got donation from Threadnought, who I think is we're talking to.
And destroy education.
I'm not sure why Threadnought is giving us super chats, even though he's in the
Because
call.
his mic is off.
Yeah.
He has to speak through the super chat.
This is to keep you off those cold streets, but it's frickin' summertime. I don't know what your problem is, sir, but I'm kind
It's
of.
called preparation. It's
Oh,
why
yeah,
we
yeah,
build
yeah.
It's why we build civilizations.
Money.
It's because she said you'd only get $1 for doing this. So there's 2.
Okay. I don't know whether to feel thankful or confused, but okay. Anyway, let's get to Nietzsche. See what he's got to say about Nietzsche.
For Nietzsche, who is often mischaracterized as a nihilist because of his God is
Yeah.
dead quote.
But he is. He actually said he was.
He's the opposite of a nihilist.
He's the optimistic
Yeah,
nihilist, but he's still a nihilist.
No, I don't think.
No.
I don't see what I've read from him. He's not a nihilist at all. He looks for the way out of nihilism.
Yes. He digs the hole himself and says, "This is what has happened to reality. This is what people believe." Then he goes
And
into
it's shit.
Yeah, and then he brings up thus spoke Zarathustra, where he talks about the Übermensch and what it means to live and grow and be strong, and all these arguments with Schopenhauer. But he's
So
still
he's an anti-nihilist.
well, no, he's a positive. It's like here's what happened to religion. Here's what happened to
It's an
people.
oxymoron.
You could
But
argue
that's
that.
just an assessment of the state of things.
Yeah, but he's saying this is what I am now as a result of this, and that's also describing people. And
Yeah,
then
but he's not saying that he's without hope, faith, or purpose.
okay. In the literal sense, you're correct. Yes, he's not a nihilist.
Thank you.
He's still
And therefore, he finds again through deduction, through reason, the way out of that hole, and thereby people who read him can therefore come out of that hole as well. But since he is slandered as a nihilist, people aren't reading him necessarily, so they don't find a way out because, well, they don't read it.
Well, it's the same statement with Kierkegaard and his religious view, where he goes into existentialism and life is this and that, but he still believes in the faith he has. Like, it's the same concept. Like, people, oh, he's like, he is the existentialist philosopher next to Nietzsche and Sartre and a few others like Heidegger, but no one really wants to read Heidegger.
Yeah, but what Nietzsche does is that he, through his Übermensch concept, that he tells you to simply take responsibility and improve yourself.
Yes.
That's all.
Yeah, I think the absolute worst thing to come out of any of Nietzsche's work is the sheer amount of people who just misinterpret it and just
Deliberately, and his sister is to blame for that.
I would argue that's the case in many people who study philosophy or have taken like a second year or third year philosophy course, and they actually have to understand the work. It's not hard. Nietzsche is not complicated, but it's so revelational for some people that they're not sure what to think of.
Yeah, but the problem is that his sister was part of the Nazis,
the
Nazi movement, and
Because I was gonna say.
she changed his works for publication so that they get this false reputation that Nietzsche was somehow a fascist, Nazi, whatever, which he wasn't. It's the fault of the woman,
All right.
so
the malicious one.
Okay.
So the Nazis based their iron bullshit on.
Well, they twisted it. They twisted it into meaning something completely different than what the terms meant, as socialists do.
But also, isn't Superman also based on his work as well?
Well,
Ashley.
nah.
I don't know. I don't think
Superman
so.
isn't really improving himself. Superman is just a paragon.
It's more of a allegory of Moses. Like he comes to another
yeah,
land as
I
an
mean,
immigrant and tries to save it.
I mean, the part where you find morality within yourself instead of looking for an outward source.
Yeah, no, that's all. I mean, if you study under Schopenhauer for that long, it's gonna rub off on you a lot. And Schopenhauer's a bit more brutalistic than Nietzsche, but at least Nietzsche interprets it as an argument as opposed to, well, you have to be the Übermensch. It's like, no, you don't. That's the ideal. So,
It's up to you whether you lift yourself up by the bootstraps or just lay flat and let the earth consume you and turn you back into food for the trees.
Yeah, it's an uplifting message if you get through it all. Yeah. Anyway, 15 minutes and a half.
Thorough reading of either of these men would show how horrified they actually were about their subjects. There are right and wrong ways to view media. Any interpretation you have should be backed up by evidence.
Yes.
But all art is subjective. It's interpretive by nature. Nothing and nobody exists in a vacuum. What you consider cliche and redundant can end up being someone's first exposure to those ideas. Jurassic Park wasn't the first dinosaur film. It wasn't even technically the first dinosaur film to use the Jurassic Park book as a basis. Ask me about Carnosaur sometime. Jurassic Park was my first dinosaur movie. It was a lot of people's first dinosaur movie, but that's not going to be true for everyone. There's people out there whose first exposure to the Jurassic franchise was one of the games or one of the later movies. You can't control any more than you can control the experiences that affect the way someone views and interprets media.
Yeah, but if we know better, like that's the same idea as he said, you need evidence. Well, if I have evidence of 1,000 books on science fiction, this is your first science fiction, and you read, I don't know, a Star Trek novel, you're going to be like, wow, science fiction is incredible, and I'm going to laugh at you because you don't know what you're talking about. So that's just a matter of experience, and once you get a sense of value out of what you consider a quality piece of science fiction or any media, then you have a standard, and this is what we argue with, the criteria whenever you have a standard for quality. What makes a good Metroid game? What makes a good science fiction novel, etc. So that is what we're looking for when we argue with people. Why you like your stick in the mud? Why you like, I don't know, pick some bad B movie, pick Andromeda from Gene Roddenberry. There's all kinds of things you could pick.
Imagine your first Highlander movie being 5.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a guilty pleasure. It's like, I remember when I was a kid and I watched Highlander 5. What a great, crazy, weird experience that was. And then I grew up and learned there were better stories about immortals running around with swords or whatever.
Yeah, I was told about a Dune fan not that far away whose favorite book is 4.
Oh, wow, really? Huh.
Did
they read 5 yet?
No way to comprehend that. What?
If they like 4, they're going to love 5.
If you love 4, then something is wrong with you.
Okay, yeah.
Just like how if Final Fantasy 13, there's something wrong in your brain.
13, the sequel or the last one?
Was 13 the one where the mecha turn into vehicles to do their special attacks?
I think that's Power Rangers.
I don't remember.
No, that was a Final Fantasy doing that.
The
one with the Afro guy with a chocobo in his head.
Yeah, that's
13.
Yeah,
okay,
you got it.
Which like, unfortunately, a lot of during that generation, there were quite a few people whose first Final Fantasy was 13.
Yeah, and once you get to the last, was it the third? Yeah, the 13 game. It is like you're fighting God. It's the dumbest shit. You're like, okay, this is.
Well, that's what you always do.
No, you're fighting literal God.
Final Fantasy.
Not.
Yeah, but that's just Final Fantasy.
You're fighting a being that is godlike, but not actual, like the god who controls everything.
At the end of 9, for no reason at all, suddenly you fought the ultimate darkness of existence.
Well,
no
introduction.
Hey, to be fair,
physical manifestation of entropy.
To be fair, 9 was a love letter to the entire series up to that point before they transitioned to 10.
Yes, that is okay, but still I need some context on why this thing suddenly pops out of nowhere. I'm the actual final boss. Like, what do you have to do with the story?
That happens a lot.
Why am I walking through space? That makes sense in Xenoblade, but not in Final Fantasy 9.
Well, same in 4, where Zemus just comes out the bumfuck out of nowhere.
I'm a tree. Like what?
Oh, not
no, that's Final Fantasy 5. I'm
Was
talking
that
about
5?
4.
I'm sorry. Okay.
That older games do stupid things is not a justification for newer games where the makers have more experience to do the same.
Yeah, but
mistake.
They gave them names. That was not God. Okay. It was.
It was just called God.
There were other names associated, but yeah, it boils down to God. Yeah.
So Zemus was actually mentioned before you got to Zemus.
Zeramus?
Right before the last
Zeramos that wasn't mentioned
Yeah.
until you
I
encountered.
was right before the last trip to the moon, though,
But yeah, but you know,
which was in the
you
same
still-
scene where they
You still knew more about Zemus before encountering him than you did about Necron.
Oh no! Oh boy! He's
or
called
Chaos.
Zeromus. He's called Zeromus, and he is evil. What valuable
that's
information!
Zeromos is actually the anger and hatred of Zemus
Yeah.
manifested.
You learn that in the boss fight later. I'm just talking about when
when
when he's
Zeromus,
first
yes.
mentioned. No, yeah, Zeromus. I'm talking about Zemus in general.
Yeah, Zemus, you learn about him at the end of the.
You learn about him in the same
Giants of
scene.
Babel.
In the same scene where they reveal Cecil and Golbez are brothers.
Yeah.
Which was good enough for me as a twist, and they kept going with it. You're like, stop twisting
And then-
things.
And then they, well, that is the last twist of the game, the last big one, and then you just go through the moon and go to Zemus. That's it.
All right.
People who say that themes are more important than plot, characters, or setting, and that's just not true. A theme can be anything. Any work of art is bound to have a whole laundry.
All right, here we go. This is, again, all literary terms are subjective. We have to get a clear understanding of a definition for theme. Let's see what it is. So, and there's various kinds. There's like theme based off content. There's theme based off meaning. There's a theme based off the question of what the meaning of the story was. So it depends on what you're talking about. So.
This is also this point is also directly arguing against the video of Anthony's that we did with LitDev.
Yep, should be.
It is. He showed a clip of it.
A theme is a natural byproduct of a plot line.
No.
That's a very loose interpretation, and you could argue that is, or I could argue that is the underlying meaning, but that would be based off a plot line choice. So something happens in the plot that someone does something, let's say a romance story, and you could say, okay, from the plot, I have to go save the girl or get the girl, and it's no longer about love. It's about, believing in love, or my love for her endures despite the conflict he's going through, and then he chooses to go keep pursuing the girl or taking off. So does love conquer all? Does it not conquer all? That sort of thing. So yes, possibly.
It can be the byproduct of the plot that it's in, but
Right.
that's not definitive.
Meaning it's a choice or a conflict that arises from the genre of romance, and this is man versus woman, or man versus woman, or whatever the love triangle is. Sure, you could go that way. It's just a very loose interpretation of that. I wouldn't use it, but you can.
Piece of world building. Those things are what make the theme stick. You can't just say,
Yes, that is true. So things that connect other content is like the connective tissue. That's fine.
hey, World Fallen Kingdom has a theme of how important it is for children to have mothers, and then expect that to be an excuse for all the movie's shortcomings. There are plenty of other
No,
movies about the
you're right.
importance of family. Hell, the importance of children and parental figures is like the one universal constant across all 6 Jurassic movies. A theme is only as good as its execution, which is why Alan Grant finding the value in children...
That depends on what you mean of theme again, because we could have the underlying meaning. We could have a deeper question of the story. Let's say an element of philosophy. You could use allegory to point out the theme, if that's not clear. But that's the thing with theme, is that it's through a execution of a story, the rendering of the story, which is called the narrative, that we can then pick apart, oh, it's about the love we have for each other, like in Princess Bride, that true love is real, and all you have to do is believe in it, and you can achieve whatever two people believe in. If it wasn't self-evident enough in the content of everything they do together is about love and their kissing scene and fighting for each other. So that's kind of in your face as well as underlying things, because when Buttercup throws herself down the hill, as dumb as she is, she does it because it's for Wesley. And even though she's been treating this guy like crap the entire time, she realizes it doesn't matter. It's Wesley. I love him. I'm going to throw myself down the hill like an idiot and chase after him.
Yeah. And in the chat, Omvilia, yes, power of friendship would be a theme.
Yeah. And sometimes it's literal because it's for shonen, so it has to be expressed that way.
Sometimes, I don't know, can themes be seen in the aesthetics of a thing?
Yes, with like man versus machine, good versus evil. Like with Star Wars, you have nature versus technology, I guess, and the nature is good. So everything that is natural, like the Force and life, is part of the aesthetic. Whereas the visuals of the Empire can be seen as evil. Yeah, for sure. That's
Well,
like
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say that it's kind of like in that example of theme, it's kind of like a stanza or a chorus line to music. It's the most repeated element, and so it's the most repeated element. It's also the biggest content of the song or the poem or this or whatever. So that also works with the theme being a element of repetition or constant going back to that idea.
Yeah.
So
what we call a main theme that we see reflected as what we call a leitmotif.
Yeah, that's a great example. I give the example of, let's say, in your zombie horror story or zombie survival story, the theme is man versus zombies, or 51% of your story is about a man trying to fight against a horde of zombies. So that's what you expect. That's what you get from the content of the genre, and the theme is man versus zombies.
In regards to music, the Xenoblade 2 soundtrack is a very, very, very direct example of this. You have the main theme, and you have this key melody play through most of the tracks in the soundtrack, but you don't notice it immediately because it is always on another instrument, or it is played in. It is played more dominant, or it is more in the background. It is slower or quieter or more stretched out, like the night theme on the Ice Titan. So long ago, I forgot the name.
Oh yeah, all the
where it's played by the piano keys, but it is stretched out so far that you might almost miss it.
Yeah, this is a great example of using a singular concept, even from a musician, in the JRPGs that we love. Like Lost Odyssey is a good example. Chrono Trigger is the best example I could think of. It's an adventure. So you're going on that sort of whimsical, magical, sentimental feeling, and you see that all throughout the music, regardless of different genre of instruments or content, action, love, drama, suspense. It's always got that sort of adventure vibe to it. And it just works. It's such a resounding idea that the game is like that, or the games are like that, and they reflect the whimsical nature. Like with, well, maybe not Planescape Torment. That's maybe Deonara. That element is there with the music that she plays. All the character themes are like that, though. They're always reminiscent of an idea of what they represent. Okay, we've been rambling about theoreticals too much. Let's keep going.
Much stronger than the Kirby family drama in Jurassic Park 3 or the clone girl from the last two Jurassic World films. But for the illiterate media literacy guys, not agreeing with the themes or how they are executed makes you the bad guy.
Wait. Jesse social justice paladin. Sure. Okay. If Admiral Holdo...
There would be an anti-paladin.
I don't know what that is. Admiral Holdo was played by Bruce Dern instead of Laura Dern. None of you sexist losers would be damned bad and eyelash of anything the character did. Are you joking?
What?
And how are they racist?
No, it would just be even more obvious that Holdo is the traitor.
Holdo's a moron and a magical person who saves the day.
Yeah, Holdo is so moronic that it is indistinguishable from a traitor.
But
yeah, doesn't what's his face ask her to he doesn't ask her what the plan is. He just asks her to tell them that there is a plan.
Yeah, which would be morale.
There is a plan.
Yeah, that would just be a morale boost.
And she just goes to it. She just turns to him and goes, "Plan." And then turns, "I don't need to tell you anything."
Yeah, but I don't like the fact that he accused people of
Mutiny.
racism here. This is a little weird.
Yeah, and anybody with two brain cells
Mutiny.
expected Holdo, because that was such a clear setup that Holdo would be the spy on the interior, the imperial agent, to bring it all down.
Yeah, the purple
because
hair
that's how
just-
you would write that.
The purple hair is just obnoxious. It just adds to the stupidity.
Insult to injury.
You're a
The
military.
narcissism.
You're a military leader with purple hair in a dress. This does not make any sense. Even if it's a dress uniform, I've never seen that dress as a military outfit.
There's a very simple military rule. It is the military version of the rule of three. And that is, first time, it's an accident. Twice, it's incompetence. 3 times, it's enemy action. Holdo does go to 3 times of stupidity.
In a single scene.
I-
In the first fucking scene.
Almost every character is I wouldn't say subverted, but they're just broken. Like there's something wrong with them that should not be happening, and it's just
This rebellion
Matt,
cannot
come on.
work because there's so many people sabotaging it with their own incompetence and
Yeah.
insanity.
it's a level of stupidity that should not ever happen with any of these characters.
So, Mark Hamill himself, he started calling the character he was playing in Disney Wars 2 Jake Skywalker.
Well, now he's fully on board with the agenda, so
Anyway.
what can we do?
We are at,
Well, he's always been fully on board with the agenda, but he didn't like how they treated his character in that movie, and just
Yes.
immediately, as
It's
soon
like
as he
a-
had a chance.
Like Anita Sarkeesian complaining that, oh yeah, everything must be changed except Buffy. Don't redo Buffy.
Buffy.
When Joss Whedon suggested that, I might reboot Buffy with a black protagonist. And
Well, no, she
Sarkeesian went, no.
She also liked the Sarah Connor Chronicles a lot, for whatever reason. Anyway, let's not remember that ever again. I can't, but it happens.
All off of The Boys. My primary exposure to The Boys is through the comics. I don't like them. They're gross, gratuitous, dumb, and full of propaganda pandering. The show managed to garner an audience by sanding off some of the political edges and replacing them with a more complex look at Homelander's fractured psyche. But now that the show's writing has taken a turn for the worse and all sense of drama and intrigue stripped from the series, people are starting to dislike it. And the only defense its apologists can muster is that these new critics just didn't get it. Guys,
I didn't even feel like watching it after the last season. Is the season even done at this point? There's so much I don't even care anymore about to even pain watch with friends.
I'm wondering,
because it's just not worth.
Are they based off the comics still, or did the story go, or did the show go off its own way? Like, does anyone follow it? The comics?
There's enough evil Supermen in Detective Comics. Do we really need to create something else to be evil Superman?
Can you stop calling it that?
It's kind of boring at this point.
All right.
I will never stop calling it Detective Comics.
All right.
It's just funny.
we know Homelander is a caricature of Bush-era conservatism. We know that he's the
Is
bad
he?
guy. We
What?
know he's a monster. That doesn't change the fact that this blatant progressive pandering is garbage. Villains can be fun. Villains can be interesting. Villains can have nuance. Taking that stuff away doesn't make your show better or smarter.
Not written by
it
these
makes
people.
it worse and dumber. It's a shallow attempt at strawmanning critics, just like what
What
we
was
saw
that?
earlier this year with X-Men 97. And the street works both ways. Every few years you'll see people try to strawman Tolkien.
Oh yeah. Orcs in D&D are now Mexicans.
Oh God. Chat says the show went its own way.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, because people
And
still
started add boring elements.
yeah, people still like the comics, so I assume it was
So
different.
it's like Disney Star Wars.
Or like Game of Thrones.
Like long dead. Yeah.
That someone like this isn't immediately thrown out of academia shows the problem with academia.
There's nothing wrong with actually talking about these elements altogether. It's just I'm assuming this is not going to be an objective view of the times and Tolkien
This
is a
is somebody who
person.
doesn't even understand the story and the elements in it, or what the orcs in
Yeah.
Middle-earth are.
If they start accusing the orcs of being horrific creatures that represent a race, then you're like, no, that's not how that would work. They could be the oppressors, and you could say they hate races, but they themselves are not some representation of humanity, of a certain race. That'd be silly. Tolkien would never do that. I think
So
someone who
the-
survived the
the
war
Tol-
would never accuse the Germans of being horrible people. They're just the military.
So the
That's what they
closest
do, though.
thing- The closest thing Tolkien ever came to comparing them to actual people, to an actual race, was when he basically said that they were sallow-skinned, flat-nosed, so they were basically jaundiced, and they look similar to what are to Europeans. So he's basically saying about Europeans that this is a European opinion. Least lovely Mongol types.
All right.
So
He deliberately did
That's-
not flesh them out into a culture or anything like that, because he wanted them to just remain this amorphous evil. Yes, that is the irredeemable thing.
Yeah,
That
same
is
with-
just the
Because-
creation of corruption.
The same with Sauron. We don't know exactly
Creation is even the wrong word.
what he looked like, what he was. He was just an eye in the sky representing evil. That was all it was.
Well, that was in the
Yeah,
movie,
because-
but overall, what orcs represent is just and that goes for Dungeons and Dragons as well, is the warring tribal phase of humanity at its peak, at its worst, at its most dangerous, as the torrent that just washes over you of death, destruction, pillaging, grape, and just raiding. That's what orcs are. They're not specifically a people from a certain continent.
Right. And because the movie did the what's on the menu, everyone's like, well, they must have restaurants. It's like, okay.
Me, they're just big green monkeys.
All right. 18 minutes and a half. Almost done.
Them was the aforementioned Alan Moore. They'll accuse Tolkien
Yeah.
of being a bigot because his European-inspired races are all white, and the forces of Sauron are primarily composed of orcs. This is problematic.
Oh yeah, the European-inspired races are light-skinned.
This-
Oh no!
This is no different than George R.R. complaining that Tolkien doesn't have any sex in his stories.
Oh god!
Not that we need to have that or want that or know that. It's just, dude, we don't
I
care.
feared somebody would bring that up.
Yeah, it's the same argument.
Oh no, there are no sex scenes between the hobbits in the books. How are we supposed to understand that the hobbits have children?
Yeah, instead of complaining about technical issues, they're complaining about social issues. They're complaining about representational. It's like, yeah, you're complaining about something that is irrelevant to the story. For
Yeah,
some
Tolkien
reason.
didn't write the sex scenes because Tolkien's not a 13-year-old boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He grew up.
Orcs are obviously coded as black people, except they're not. They're specifically not supposed to resemble humans at all. Showing the way that Sauron can corrupt humans is the narrative role of the Nazgul, Boromir, and Denethor. But because a few uncreative essayists can't comprehend
what did Anthony? What was his genius?
Evil
take?
races are just boring.
So
But because-
Tolkien didn't
He just
expand
feels
on
called
the.
out.
So Tolkien didn't expand on the orcs because he didn't believe that anyone could be inherently evil.
This got almost 87,000 views because evil races are just boring. What is this guy's appeal?
Actually, pretty. Yeah, this guy doesn't understand. So Evo, this guy doesn't understand the nature of evil races and what's behind them. For example, the very things that he's responding to are the Drow of Dungeons and Dragons or the Dark Elder in Warhammer, which are absolutely fascinating and complex races and cultures, and they're evil for reasons. They're still horrible,
Yeah,
but they're fleshed out.
they got
And-
a spider matriarchy or something like that. I don't know what the.
Yes.
Drow, yeah, they
and
worship the Spider Queen,
Yeah.
the demon Lolth.
And I think the shortest of it is people like Anthony feel called out by the depiction of evil because what is narcissism in the end? It's greedy and it walks over other people's boundaries. It lies. It is deceitful. And that's evil. That's why the narcissistic writers love the evil characters so much, and when they make self-inserts, they always turn out to be villains instead of heroes that we are then supposed to love, because the narcissists all demand love and adoration, affirmation.
All right.
If essayists can't comprehend the idea of people...
Almost 2 million views. 40 minutes of a shonen anime asking, not even asking, telling you.
A high school shonen.
A superhero shonen anime is sexist. Okay, whatever.
Which it isn't.
Writing beyond themselves, we have to see the...
Oh God, more Anthony. Freyr and demons are more natural enemy. Wait, Freyr and demons are more natural enemies. Okay. Freyr and demons are more natural enemies of humanity. Period. Is that a more natural than what? More natural enemies of humanity. That's not a statement, sir. They seek to eradicate it as a culture.
Not as a culture. As now, oh God, this guy doesn't.
They kill them.
It's not about culture.
Culture?
It's not about culture. You brainlet.
That's not particularly interesting. Everything affected by them is interesting. What? Everything affect? What is he trying to say?
By them. I think this is a typo. He meant them.
Them. Okay. The individual demons are interesting, but as a culture, not. Are you serious?
Are you sure about that?
It's a It's a culture, a species that is solely comprised of psychopaths. The idea of a species, of a culture that is solely comprised of psychopaths is interesting because that can't actually work.
Yeah, they don't grasp the concept of empathy. They don't have any concern for social cues that we would understand, and thus they just use them as tools to get whatever they want, which is more control to later backstab or kill or whatever the desire is.
They're just manipulative to the core, and they don't have family structures because they can't bond.
They don't care
because they're just
It's such an amazing idea, because you think of demons as having this intricate like they believe in strength or this or that. Yeah, they have some of those elements, but it's so individualistic that psychologically it makes perfect sense, because they do whatever they want. They respect power, and that's it. There's other elements we talk about, but
it's a perfect description of the psychopath's mind, and I think it's a wonderful choice as demons, because that's I believe that there may be something in that this is where the belief in demons even comes from psychopaths,
removing,
because they act so inhuman.
Yeah, but you wouldn't say just because they're so focused on power and because they're so attuned to magic, so they master their element of power, that there would be no culture. There would be no dancing. There would be no music. Of course, they would have their own forms of entertainment. It's just that the story is not about them. They're there as an enemy, and they
might only have that in order to impress each other, or rather their prey.
Yeah,
this is the only reason they would acquire those skills, is in order to manipulate their prey into, so they could predate on them.
Right, they would become expert pianists just to charm so many people, so you can get into society to butcher someone here and there. So there's lots of stories to be told, and I'm assuming Anthony wants those stories.
Yeah,
but he's not understanding the potential for that.
There's also an element of the demons in Frieren being related to the mythological idea of the elves in the Irish tradition of the Seli and Unseli, which are just manifest magic spells. which is where the demons came from, which is why every demon masters one spell and nothing else much.
Yeah, and you could argue they have an entire culture just about magic that only they are familiar with because they're so attuned to magic as opposed to the rest of everything
because
else.
They are magic.
Yeah, they're so powerful. So they invent their own spells, they refine their own spells, but they have a different view of power because they see the aura that people have, and well, that's how we evaluate strength and da-da-da. So no,
that they are disgusted. They're disgusted by people like Frieren because they cannot, like a psychopath, cannot comprehend why you would hide that most defining trait of strength, of value, of yourself.
There's an element of culture right there. Whenever the populace can determine what is good or bad in whatever aesthetic you choose to grade it as, or style, then great. There's some people like this kind of music, and the demons like that kind of music. There's some people like that kind of magic. The demons like that kind of, like, it's very obvious we can start categorizing this, but it's not indicative of the ideas that he's trying to promote here. It's just they're enemies of humanity. It's like they're enemies of everything. Like they're
and I have just experienced too many of these kinds of people. Like the way that Anthony acts here is reminiscent of every narcissist and psychopath I have met. They openly, if they resent evil depictions, that is because they feel called out by it. They secretly love it, but they know they publicly have to hate it or dismiss it somehow so that you don't make the connection.
This is no different than, let's say we're, I don't know, reading a vampire novel about some cabal, and we know they're all blood-sucking crazy people, but they have a nuance about them, about why they do it, how they do it. Everyone has their own different culture, like the kindred or some other element of fiction that uses vampires. They're deadly. They're scary. They're terrifying. But they're not just brutally evil nothing creatures.
The demons in Frieren are, but the vampires in Vampire the Masquerade, their entire point is, at least of the Camarilla faction, is that they try to retain what humanity they have left. So they're not complete psychopaths.
Some of them do, and that's what I mean by this idea. Like, imagine I'm reading a murder mystery novel. As you say,
that's the Sabbath side.
Sure, I mean, in Anthony's case, he's saying, well, the individual murderers are fascinating, but if there was a group of them, if there was like an accomplice, he's saying, yeah, but all the social elements between those two people or three people, yeah, that's kind of boring. Like the psychopaths, the rapists, the thieves. Like, how many stories do we have of thieves that are interesting? Like a heist movie, all the relationships between them. Like this is what we get into when we get into stories. Sorry?
There's an absolute shit ton of heist movies.
Oh yeah. I mean, we want to know, what would a relationship, or how would you talk to someone who's a killer? You know, if you were also a killer.
Yeah.
Like the war stories people tell. That's interesting stuff, Anthony. Now maybe
and that is part of Frieren's story. Like the character Frieren.
Right.
Because her whole goal, together with her teacher Flamme, and if you will, what was a serie above that, is how do we beat demons? How do you beat a psychopath, basically? How do you trick a psychopath of things?
Yeah.
That's the big question, because that's the war we're waging. And we are waging a similar war, just without magic, in real life, because it is the psychopaths who are most easily getting into leading positions in the justice system, in legislation, in politics, in the industry, because they have no conscience. Nothing holds them back. They walk over corpses and they're attracted by power. Power isn't corrupting them. They are already corrupt. And the question is, how do we, the billions of non-psychopaths, prevent them from getting there because we still haven't figured it the fuck out.
It reminds me of one of the best science fiction novels ever written called The Demolished Man. Is if everyone in a society is telepathic, how would you kill someone? How would you get away with murder? And it goes through part by part of what would be the methods, what mind games would you play, how would you trick others without thinking it, even though you were planning something devious without being able for people to figure that out. So it's fascinating. It's probably one of the best science fiction novels ever read or ever created. And it's just the idea. Like, there's so much you could work with, and you could argue the show doesn't explore the demons so much. So Anthony's kind of bored by it on the surface, but
we only had 2 seasons so far. Come
on. Yeah. The manga goes into.
We just got into the demon part.
Yeah,
we only touched on it. We haven't fully entered demon land yet.
They face 4 demons. It's all been amazing because the whole story just shifts into demon killing for like 6 episodes or 4 episodes or so, and it goes back. And
suddenly it's this chill, interpersonal, slow thing that is really wholesome. Just hits the strings right. That it, even with these few lines, it just evokes deep emotion and sympathy. All of a sudden, it's Toho battles.
It's crazy violent, and then immediately after that, it jumps into the magical competition to get a first-class mage ship or whatever it's called. So it's like, sense. We just came from killing demons. We're going to take this test to like survive in the wilderness with other people. You're like, okay. So it's such a great trip.
Super mages.
I know, it's fun. All right. We've been talking about that too much because Anthony's crazy, but that's okay.
Isn't Gramuglia talk shit about Frieren for daring to have an inhuman race like the demons. The rebuttal to these hacks is always the same. If you think Tolkien's orcs or Frieren's demons are like various minorities, that says a lot more about you than the creators. Anthony Gramuglia was the final straw that pushed me to make this video.
Really?
He epitomizes everything wrong with modern-day progressive, angry, male, feminist, media-literate hacks that act all high and mighty for being on the right side of history, even though they do everything they accuse other people of doing.
Yes.
I won't go into too much detail because my buddy Raymond and his live stream crew
projection.
Way too.
They project to distract you from the fact that they are doing it. They have the hand in the cookie jar, pointing at the other children. Oh, teacher, they want to steal the cookies. Well, they already have the hand in the cookie jar. And the teacher goes, oh, you other children, how dare you want to steal the cookies? Meanwhile, the projecting kid is munching the cookies.
Well, they spent more time than we did covering. We spent a lot of time. I think that's slightly more than us. So,
yeah.
I think we did 7.5 hours. They did 8.5. Yeah.
8.5 hours.
Ours were long. We did 2 as well. So,
I mean, hey,
our advantage is also that we actually brought LitDev on with us, who was the biggest target in that entire video.
Yeah, for no reason.
For no reason. Congratulations on the stamina and thoroughness. That's a lot of experience.
Talking about his incomprehensibly edited video about lying YouTubers. That video features terrible.
It did look like, well, in the thumbnail for the second video, that they might have started playing a drinking game.
Maybe.
Drink a shot every time it says some particularly stupid thing.
Something stupid or
that
outright.
Would kill someone. You'd be passed out. You'd be knocked out the first 20 minutes. You'd be like, okay.
Yeah, given everything he actually said in the video. Like,
It was tough, yeah. I mean, it wasn't disgusting to sit through, but it's like, dude, look in the mirror. Please stop hitting yourself in the foot. Just take a step away from your script and listen. Anyway.
Edit use of text and goes on weird tangents about why the plot of Blade Runner doesn't actually matter.
And that's compelling. The emotion is compelling. The technical details, who cares?
Oh, God.
This is what I always get weirded out by. When we talk about technical details, we think of how did that thing come to be? God. How and why does it... When you look at a pretty girl, you're like, is it the makeup? Is it the working out? Is it the dress? Is it the genetics? Is it the hair? Is it the lighting? Why am I attracted to her? How does that, like, you want to know, you want to understand yourself, you want to understand her, and then you go up there and say, wow, I really like what you did with your hair. What is that? Like, it's just a natural curiosity to think in terms of technical things, of how things are made, how things work. And this guy's going, it doesn't really matter how the sausage is made. It matters how you feel, which jumps all the way to the end of a murder mystery story just to see who killed who without going on the journey of trying to figure it out yourself. You just
If it doesn't make sense, it doesn't feel right. And if you're too dumb to understand that, then you are a child.
It's so...
Oh, no. You are worse than a child, because there are a lot of children who do understand that and do take issue with stories not making sense.
It's just so base. It's so reducing everything to emotion. It doesn't matter if it's music, it doesn't matter if it's a movie, it doesn't matter if it's a brilliant novel. How does it make you feel? That's what matters. That's like 1/8 of the experience for me, how it makes me feel. I even sometimes don't even care how it makes me feel. I just want to read the story to finish it or find out what happens next. Curiosity.
I feel horrible right now, like looking at some Lovecraftian horror, because this is the first time that in this frame I noticed the way Ray is using her right hand to get up and hold the lightsaber. this weird squid hand that you have no strength in at all.
Can't use your fist
while holding a lightsaber somehow.
Yeah. Well,
remember her catchphrase. I'm the Force.
That's a catchphrase?
I don't know. I've only seen Disney Wars 1, and
she says the Force. And then she powers
I've only
up.
seen Disney Wars 1.
Okay.
And I've wiped most of it from my mind. And I remember the entire trilogy as being Rey saying that, waving her arm and making everything explode, and then suddenly all the bad guys have been killed.
Well, you're not wrong, but there's a few extra steps there.
The movies are just so horrible, and nothing of any consequence actually fucking happens apart from Han Solo getting killed.
I remember the argument that people made to Shad that if you slow down a movie, of course you're going to see all the errors that happen. It's like you don't have to slow it down.
The fucking knife disappears.
Oh, that's
just so that she doesn't get stabbed.
That's one of like
the fucking
30 problems.
Itself from reality.
there's so many issues with the fight scene in episode 8, but
when you have so much money, you can get a fight choreographer.
They did, but it wasn't very good. Anyway, let's keep going.
You could listen to the fight choreographer.
The points brought up by just some guy, LiteratureDevil, Critical Drinker, and Shadiversity. And then when he gets into Lily Orchard and Anita Sarkeesian, two of the lowest hanging fruits in the fruit bowl, he pulls his punches, praises their production.
That was great. The lowest hanging fruit in the fruit bowl, ground zero.
Of a doubt, even though Anita Sarkeesian is an actual literal.
Oh, look how feminine, how totally feminist she looks with the hoop earrings and the makeup and all the pretty hair.
Looking to make your video game project more inclusive to a wider audience? Wait a second.
That wider audience of literally who?
The inclusivity of wider audiences.
Have you seen the Capcom stats?
For what?
Capcom, somebody help me. My brain is
a video game or in general?
No. Capcom had made polls on what people liked.
Oh, okay.
And showed the actual stats of male, female, and other. And female was like 13%, and other was 4%. So we know which is the wider audience, and so we know the wider audience is negligible.
Yeah,
it really is no one.
I fucking hate what they did to Jill Valentine in Remake. So first of all, there's the fact that there's the classic skin if you pre-ordered the game, which it's not actually the classic skin. So, and Nemesis appears right at the start of the game for no fucking reason. And the best part of that game is where Jill gets forcibly one-timed by a spider monster, but that doesn't even need to be in the fucking game at all anyway. It's the best part of the game because it's got a teeny tiny bit of world building that none of the rest of the fucking game has.
I like how
it doesn't need to be there.
Yeah, I like how her next paragraph is, "You're not alone. Today's audiences crave authentic experiences that break free from old stereotypes." It's like, well, they wouldn't be authentic, would they? They would just be whatever pastiche of ideas that you come up with, because we use stereotypes to understand things easily. Why would we want to break from that?
They're simplifications of the world, of patterns, and without them we can't navigate it.
Yeah, can you
and
imagine?
There's always a kernel of truth to all of them. Sometimes more, sometimes less.
An Italian from South America, no, from Brazil, who's a Arctic swimmer, training to be a accountant in Sri Lanka, and who loves Japanese food but only speaks Swahili. Like, it's just like, imagine that. Like, my brain just goes, I have no, like,
What the fuck is that?
What is that diversity? Like, you're including all these things just to make it diverse, and you're like, what? And
Jamaica's bobsleigh team?
If it was only one element, that'd be nice. Yeah. Anyway.
Conning
Feel the
borrowers
rhythm,
out of
feel
cash
the
for
rhyme.
consulting fees. That's what people are catching on to. That's why less people are willing to defend The Acolyte than they were the sequel trilogy. That's why The Acolyte, Doctor Who, and The Boys are getting review bombed, but that same
They're not
backlash
bombed.
isn't materializing for
They
less
just
prestigious
tank.
shows like House of the Dragon, Jurassic World Chaos Theory, and Invincible. And that is why, now that this rant is out of my system, I'm going to dedicate my video making efforts into things that are more educational in nature. Because honestly, I'm sick of this bullshit. I'm sick of these guys eating up my Twitter and YouTube feed with their incognizant bullshit. I'm sick of these people projecting their own faults onto others. I'm sick of corporations hiding behind progressive tokenism. I'm sick of member-berry fan pandering. But what I'm not sick of is dinosaurs. So I'm going to binge watch a bunch of dinosaur movies for the sake of future videos that I hope will be as educational as the movies are entertaining. I'm Mediocrity4. Thanks for watching.
That was cool.
Fair enough. Yeah, minor problems, but good rant all around. And brought up Anthony, which was hilarious because Anthony is endlessly entertaining.
Special hilarious.
Yeah, there's something weird about it's like he's so honest and chill, and he thinks he's correct because he thinks there's no evidence to support that. He just thinks he does, and he uses references that have no meaning. He clips videos that have no meaning, and it's just, these people are lying because I said so. It's like, can you show me the lie? That'd be nice. But nope, they're grifters because they make money on YouTube, which is not the definition of a grifter, but I don't know. Maybe he has some insights.
They disagree with my ideology. That can't be right because my ideology is the perfectest, bestest thing ever, and they must know this, so they must be lying by this when they disagree. So they're grifting.
It's got one good video, for fuck's sake. It's that Spider-Man one. Everything else is just, it's like a reverse Midas touch.
Oh wait, by extension, that means everybody who disagrees with the ideology is a grifter, because the ideology is perfect, and you can't disagree with it because you know it's perfect.
All right, here's some memes.
It's great. It makes no sense.
See what we got here. We got Alan Moore. Rorschach was the hero of Watchmen, and I wrote it to encourage people to be like him. It's true. He did say this often on funny.co. All right. Dude, Rorschach is my favorite superhero. I just wish his mask didn't have a picture of my parents fighting on it.
That's good.
That would not be a Freudian slip, but you never know. Wendy... Okay. Wendy's cashier who forgot my barbecue sauce.
Ooh.
What is it?
357.
That's
357.
violent.
That is over the kill, sir. Barbecue sauce is free at Wendy's. I don't know why you're so angry. Oh, good Lord.
It's the same.
Medium fries. Okay.
You are now
Why-
obligated to look at the Kirby of disappointment for a whole TM for a whole minute.
Why
He's
is
not mad. He just thought you were better
Why-
than that. And is
why
very
is
sad about it.
Why is Dr. Manhattan so deformed?
Yeah.
That ass. What the fuck?
Yeah. They made him a weird looking dude. I don't know. I am tired of this family. Their matter. Oh, God. This is my future. I do not know you. Sorry.
My purse.
Purse.
This is my purse.
Where did future come from? I don't know.
That's my purse. And it kicks him in the balls.
Okay. John, make way for the Homo Superior. I will watch that later. No problem. You are reading this in my voice. Mr. Bowie? No, I'm not. Because you change your voice every 5 years. I don't know.
As well as the eyes.
You, Smudge, you're editing your voice.
Technically, that is true. PS5 Spider-Man 2 versus an older Mary Jane. That was Mary Jane. In what if debut of Mayday Parker, before they narrowed her face. Also, yes, Peter almost looks like Doctor Strange in the Lionsgate animated flick. Really?
Yeah, that's Peter.
That's Peter? That's
It really does look like Doctor Strange.
That's a different take on Peter.
How old are they?
Knuckles? Can't read.
They look in their 50s.
Here's more notable tweets from Ant. Oh, that got into major infighting. He deleted them? Oh, wow. As the Neil Gaiman situation... Oh, jeez.
There's a new gaming situation.
Continues to... Oh, yeah. He got accused of rape. Continues to unfold. I find it very interesting how a certain group of trans exclusionary radical feminists keep telling people to believe all women while ignoring all the points where the supposed victims insist everything was consensual. Oh, I read this. This is so stupid.
What?
The logic he is employing. Anthony, do you understand the sentence you just described? The women are saying they were raped. And yet he's saying, ignoring all the points where the supposed victims insist everything was consensual.
I'm confused. So the victims insist everything was consensual, then it wasn't a rape.
He's saying, he's saying it was.
What is the rape allegation
Yeah.
about consensual sex?
It usually
Usually goes the other way around.
It makes no sense because when someone accuses you of rape, they're not saying it was consensual. Anthony, it's as if he got Neil Gaiman and the other party confused because Gaiman was saying it was consensual. The two other parties are saying it wasn't, and they're really graphically, like they came out with it very detailed. Like, oh my god! So let me see.
Maybe they described their fantasies.
It looks like it's continuing.
Oh yeah. Well, don't be happy right now for the victims. They are being exploited by Boris Johnson's sister. That's a different sort of. That's a different sort of rape, Anthony. What are you talking about? How would you do a different sort of rape? A rape of their public image and their reputation. Are you trying to be clever, Anthony? Are you downplaying the word rape? Come on.
No, that's what feminists do.
Oh God! And their reputation.
For feminists, everything that emotionally distresses them is.
Yeah. Okay. A rape of their public image and their reputation because the publisher wants to score political points against a rival. Who are you talking about? The publisher of what? The person reporting the story? DC versus Marvel? What are you talking about with this? Oh, God. Isn't Gaiman's new flick or new season of Sandman coming out soon?
Oh, please, no.
I don't know. I remember the first one. That was it last week? Yeah, it was last week. Okay. Jeez,
That's
Anthony.
Seinfeld.
This is Seinfeld, and that is Jesus. That is Kramer.
With the characters made to look like Watchmen characters.
Yeah. Except for, well, actually, no, that is a version of Element or George's Rorschach.
I wouldn't know. The only ones I know are Dr. Manhattan and Rorschach. So
That's Manhattan and Rorschach. I think is that Owlman? And
no, that's
Golden Fox, I think.
Oh, Owlman's DC, isn't it?
IQ test.
But Watchmen's DC.
Your IQ is 4. The number of correct answers is 1Z40. Time 0 minutes and 34 seconds. Profound mental retardation. What is going on? I don't know. Whoever did that. Wasted in the living room waiting for Martin Luther King to come down the chimney. What?
I have no idea what you're trying to say.
Cowboy Bebop, what are you doing? What is nihilism in theory, nihilism in practice?
I think that's what you could call your positive nihilism.
Oh,
the denial of reality.
Just don't have any responsibilities, guys. Go through life not giving a shit. Eat whatever you want, however you want. Steal it if you have to. No one gives a shit. Yeah.
That's what the socialists want us to do.
Next one's funny.
While they destroy the world.
The simplest argument to refute a moral nihilist is to kill them.
No, threaten to kill them.
Why is the old man with a gun naked?
This is from Smiling Friends.
Next one.
One of the best shows on Adult Swim right now.
Absurdism? Okay.
What's that from?
Don't know.
What, the video? It's just a whole bunch of Jake. Oh, is that Jake Gyllenhaal? I mean, not. Trying to remember the name.
The one on the bottom left.
The one from the guy from Barbie was Ken, I think.
Yeah. I don't know his name. I can remember.
Oh wait, what? Ryan Reynolds?
No.
That's not Ryan Reynolds, though.
I thought it was.
Just trust me, Senator. Is this the do better bullshit?
Yeah, it's a do better bullshit.
It was Ryan Gosling.
Gosling, yeah.
While Falcon in the first episode said about the white people at the bank, which had just as big noses as the senator here, he said about them, we don't trust those people.
Also funny that this is posted here by Legacy.
There's a lot of hidden anti-Semitism.
Also funny how Legacy chooses this to post here because the trailer for Captain America: Brave New World got leaked or came out. I don't remember which.
Yeah, I saw it. It's got Han Solo in it for some reason. I don't know why.
It's because he's replacing William Hurt as Thaddeus Ross.
Huh. Interesting. Knowledge is power. Don't you agree?
It's about half dozen Chris's and 3 or 4 Ryans.
All right.
Ryans, I don't know. But anyway.
I didn't know this book could kill demons. Berserk? What is going on in this?
I need to meditate on this image.
There's John Wick trying to shoot someone while talking to Elven chick, and she's reading. Yeah, I know. I'm like, what is happening in concept? I'm like,
Frieren demon.
Yeah. Anyway. Well done, Vern. Let's try our best again in season 2 soon. How soon is for
About that.
Maybe next 10, 20, 200 years. Who knows?
I found it. Whisp, it's that thing you were asking for.
Yeah, I posted it.
These are the people who voted in the Capcom Super election. Okay.
Ah, yeah, it was you. Okay.
What is other? That is a good question. the robots. They voted both.
Yeah, we see all those this giant female gaming audience and the wider new modern audience with Western sensibilities with 4%.
Yes, a lot of people.
All right. Whew.
You motherfucker.
All right. We are done.
Another one bites for dust.
All right, great. That was, yeah. Well, at least it was a good takedown of some of those guys. Anthony more specifically, because he's just.
I find it funny that this guy did to Anthony what Anthony did to LitDev in his own video.
Yeah, but
it's just about the same ratio.
Yeah, but properly.
He didn't even spend that much time with that. He just showed examples of just Anthony being crazy, and that's what Anthony is. He's just a misinterpretive ideologue who just projects his own, I guess, failings. I don't know what to call them.
He believes he is smarter than he is.
He certainly sounds like he knows what he's talking about. That's the beauty of listening to him. He's like, okay,
that's the trick.
It's like, okay, yeah, I see. What
That's
you're
just
saying.
confidence. Smart. That's what a con artist is.
Oh yeah, and accusing people of being the con artist. Yeah, that's great. Whew. All right, guys, that was fun.
He's lazy.
Well, I don't know what he is. We're still trying to figure that out.
He can actually make good stuff. He's just too lazy to even try. So he just does the usual shit.
Well, it's been a hot day. The storm is coming and it's raining, so that's a good sign to take
the storm that is approaching.
No,
it was here all day.
Yeah, well, I just got it, so I got to take a break. It was nice and humid all day. Fantastic weather, and now it's watering all the flowers so we can cut the lawn tomorrow or whenever. This is like the remnant of that crazy hurricane that went through the States, and we just got the last of it today, I think. The first of it came in yesterday. So heavy downpour yesterday, but today is just a light. The storm just hit, so I don't know how long it's going to take. So hopefully not so bad. But yeah, nice, wonderful weather, and I hope you guys are enjoying it. Take a break, relax, get some drinks going, hopefully some water. I didn't mean just alcoholic drinks, just keep yourself hydrated, that sort of deal. Work out, relax, take a nap, do what you got to do, eat well. What other recommendations can I give you? That's about it. Yeah, read what you like. I don't care. There's so much anime coming out. I can't follow it. And yeah, have yourself a great evening. We'll talk soon. Good night.
Night.